Okay. Fantasy football sucks. It officially sucks. They take Akers. They take our man Travis Etienne. And now they take J.K. Dobbins. I don't know what's going on here. We're not even to the season yet. The season's not going to start for like another 10 days. Yeah, it's just running back after running back after running back after running back. And I mean, who even knows what's to come, to be honest? Of course, what we are going to be doing here, y'all know it. We're going to get some real money fantasy football drafts. Who cares that fantasy football sucks? We're still going for it. We're still going for gold here. I mean, everybody's playing the same game. Let's see who is better. And yeah, we're going to send out this notification. We're going to get this real money fantasy football draft going. In the first draft we're going to do, it's a $10 warm-up draft. I mean, y'all know we do this every single night. Everybody should know by now. The first draft that we do is always sent out on Patreon as a warm-up draft where it's only a $10 draft. That way we can make sure the stream is all set up. That way we can make sure that everybody is ready to come in. And then we'll get like a $250, then we'll get a $50, we'll get a $100. We'll get a big money draft going at some point tonight, most likely right after this one. So yeah, let's go through. Let's send out the link to the first draft over there on Patreon. Then we'll publish that, and then we'll switch it back over here to get this first draft underway. And now it looks like this screen is maybe off just a little. Maybe we need to move this over. I have no idea what this looks like on the screen. Okay, I don't know if we have this set up correctly. Let me just pull up my phone real quick. And I don't know why I'm even still talking. Let's look at the real chat real quick. Alan says 32,000 subscribers after tonight. Congrats. My man, thank you. I mean, yes, we are hitting some big goals. We are going through, having a great time. And now what we're not going to have a great time is we are drafting at the 111. But what I want to see is after everything happens with all the injury updates we have, I mean, what is the running back landscape going to look like? What adjustments should we be making? But anyway, let's pull over the draft board. Of course, this first draft is going to be it's going to be exclusively from Patreon members. So it's going to be all regulars to the stream. Okay, so we have a Girthquake. This is Noah out here. Super happy to see that he got the 101. If you don't know who Noah is, I mean, he is out there in the Patreon chat all the time. He made both of these signs for us. So, of course, thank you. We got Kevin, someone that comes out to pretty much every single video premiere. We got Raw out in almost every single draft. Deezonator's out in almost every draft. King Tanner out in a ton of them. CDJ also out in a ton. Austin 1997. This is actually a new name. Obviously, he's on Patreon, but I'm not sure if he's been out to a draft with us before. Everybody knows JN. Everybody knows Thomas. Thomas edits all our videos for us. YouTube Slayer joined Patreon about 3 weeks ago, I believe. Then we got us, and then I think a DCR also maybe a new name on here. Yeah, so we got a lot to look at. We got fantasy football just changing. I mean, because now at the 311, we're no longer going to be able to look at a J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, we do not have official news of what's going to happen with J.K. Dobbins. Maybe he actually goes at a reasonable range in this draft. Of course, you can't just make him undraftable now before we get the official news on his timetable. But let me know if something is missing. Yeah, so Noah says miracles can happen. Yeah, guys, Noah has been pretty much only getting the 111 and the 112 in these drafts up until this point. Okay. But Devontae Adams at the 105. And this kind of goes, maybe one lesson that we can take away over the past few weeks is maybe wide receivers are just a little bit safer if we're going to be drafting far away from the start of the season. Maybe if you're going to be drafting like a day or two before the season starts, then you just go get your elite level stud running backs. But maybe if you're drafting far away from the season, you just go through and you start loading up on those receivers early and you try to find the next Darrell Henderson. You try to find the next James Robinson, the next Gus Edwards. These guys that look like league-winning players. A party till she's hot coming out with the donation says, when JK went down, I immediately thought of SPAC. Yeah, my man. Poor SPAC, someone who was drafting J.K. Dobbins in the second round, like every single draft in these live streams. Hopefully he comes out to the stream tonight. But at the 111 here, we're going to go with someone that I want in more leagues. I'm tired of not drafting him in enough. Actually, no, he goes to the 110. Never mind, we're not going to be getting our guy in Saquon Barkley. Instead, I don't care. I think that we actually just go out there and we reach on him. We're just going to take Jonathan Taylor here. I mean, Jonathan Taylor at the 111, I think he has the talent playing behind a great offensive line. And to go along with this, we also know that, I mean, Carson Wentz sounds like the reports are positive on him as of late. So let's go and let's get a Jonathan Taylor. Now we have wide receiver going between us. So let's get Austin Eckler as our second running back on this team. I'm a little worried with the injuries to both Travis Etienne and J.K. Dobbins that we're actually going to have these running backs that would usually have gone in rounds like 8, 9, and 10 in the James Robinson, in the Gus Edwards. There's just going to be less of those high upside handcuff level running backs available now. So I think maybe it makes a little more sense to go out and kind of pay up for the running backs, where before these injuries, I probably would have taken a Stephon Diggs here at the 111. But now I actually think that we're going to be trying to go running back. Now we have Thomas taking Joe Mixon at the 204. Hopkins goes to the 205 to JN. JN usually goes very wide receiver heavy to start these drafts. Okay, so it is intriguing to see him go with the 108, the 205. Okay. So now let's go through, and we have someone, Mr. Terrible says, Eckler is a bust this year. Eckler is a bust this year. Why are you saying Austin Eckler is a bust? That makes no sense, in my opinion. I mean, you go through, you look at Austin Eckler on a per-game basis the past 2 years. This has been a running back that's pretty much been bust-proof now that they are significantly upgrading the offensive line in Los Angeles. In some opinions, I mean, the Los Angeles Chargers could have the most improved offensive line this offseason. Very hard to call Austin Eckler a bust. Also going to be playing with the best quarterback of his NFL career. I mean, Justin Herbert, I think we can get excited. And while maybe Justin Herbert isn't the level of peak Phillip Rivers, I mean, he's at least the level or better than late career Phillip Rivers. Goes to Darren Waller at the 210. A.J. Brown falls to the 209. Very standard for this draft so far. I mean, Najee Harris usually doesn't make it to the 208. I think if you start a draft off with Devontae Adams, Najee Harris, you can be pretty excited. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes at the 211. Obviously, there's some uncertainty with the Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury. There's also some uncertainty with the DeAndre Swift groin injury as well. So that's what I'm just saying. I mean, the running back landscape, it is disgusting right now in terms of the guys that you can comfortably rely on. That's why I think that now maybe it's a little more appealing to be getting these running backs a little earlier on. Maybe it's more appealing to go through and start off Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, start Barkley, Gibson, start Taylor, Eckler, because the other running backs we're just a lot less confident in, and you're not going to have options in this range of the draft to go and get a James Robinson because they're going to be going significantly higher. Okay. So Robert Woods at the 303. This is way earlier than where you're used to seeing Robert Woods go. Allen Robinson goes at the 304. Yeah, usually Robert Woods would be in play here for the 311. Now he has risen a little bit, where the majority of the time we're actually seeing him go more so at like the 308, the 309, the 310, but very rare to see him go actually at the 303 ahead of George Kittle. I think that we do prefer taking Kittle over a Robert Woods. Okay, so Terry McLaurin goes at the 306. Now let's see where Austin takes this, because he is one of the people that started off running back. He goes Cooper Kupp. So obviously our initial thoughts when we start double receivers here and we're playing in a best ball 3 wide receiver starting minimum format, we're probably going to have to come away with this 3-4 turn with double receivers. We're probably going to be looking at some of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers players. Maybe we don't get one of them falling to us, and instead we have to take like a Julio Jones. But our guy, Chris Godwin, goes at the 308 to JN. My man, taking our player, taking Chris Godwin from us. That is straight up rude. I have no idea why you're doing that, my man. Now, Amari Cooper at the 309. Obviously, Amari, a great value there. So, yeah, Dobbins no longer in play. So, if we're going to be talking receivers, you know what? Maybe we don't talk receivers, and instead we possibly take a running back here. So, James Robinson goes. So, Robinson would have been the running back that we were considering. Now, I'm just trying to think. Actually, I think we do need to go with Mike Evans. I'm not really excited about drafting Mike Evans here. But let's take Mike Evans, and then we can potentially go with another running back at the 402. The problem is when we need to start 3 wide receivers in this league, it's going to be very hard to get away from just taking that Mike Evans there at the 309 or the 310, wherever we took him. Okay. So now we have DJ Moore going by DSR. So DSR is starting 3 receivers in a row, going a little bit of a 0 running back build, which is intriguing. I wonder what value he can find later on. So at the 402, I will say that maybe this is about the range where you consider Gus Edwards if we had news that J.K. Dobbins was out for the season. Personally, I can't go that direction. So between a DeAndre Swift and a Julio Jones, I think we're actually just going to go DeAndre Swift. I know Swift is falling, given his own groin injury concerns that we have. I just think at this point, the running back landscape, I want to have to avoid those guys that we're getting later on in the drafts. I think that those players later on are going to be pushed up just slightly, or I'm going to be a little more willing to go running back heavy at the beginning of the draft now. Y'all know that, before this J.K. Dobbins injury, I would have most likely taken a Julio Jones at the 402 instead of a DeAndre Swift. But at this point, I think, honestly, we kind of have to take Swift. We have to take Evans and double tap running back there. Let me know if y'all would have preferred the combination of David Montgomery and Julio Jones compared to what we got in Mike Evans and DeAndre Swift. But honestly, I think that we played that pretty much exactly how we should. Now, Chris Carson is still falling. So maybe this draft room doesn't adjust, and maybe we are just overreacting to the change in landscape that we're going to be seeing. And guys, if y'all have not gone down there and dropped a like on the live stream yet, what are you doing? Fix your life. Go down there, drop that like on the live stream. This is our third video / live stream that we are getting out today. We're doing this every single night. So please make sure you're dropping that like. It helps us out a ton, and we are just grinding out here. But now you have a Chris Carson at the 405, T. Higgins at the 406, Brandon Ayuk at the 407. T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk, they have risen so much to a point where, there's a 0% chance that you're seeing them fall outside of the 4th round in these leagues. Now, I will say, obviously, in a casual fantasy football format, that's going to be a little bit different, where we have actually seen Brandon Ayuk. I did a Patreon podcast breakdown today where someone drafted T. Higgins in the 6th and got Brandon Ayuk in the 7th. And I was sitting there going, oh my God, this is a 12-man league. What were your league mates doing? Were you playing against children? How were you able to pull that off? Okay, so Ripple says it's just a hyperextension. Do we have anybody confirming that? I have, as of right before the live stream, I did not find any reports from any team doctors or anybody that has actually seen J.K. Dobbins to say what the injury is. So I think to come out here and say that is extremely reckless. I think that there's no way in hell you can be drafting a J.K. Dobbins in this range right now. Okay, if anybody has a team doctor or anybody who's actually seen J.K. Dobbins and run tests on J.K. Dobbins, if you have someone confirming that, if you have seen someone come out here and talk about a video that they watched on the TV screen and they're trying to tell you what the injury is, I don't care what their opinion is in the slightest. No, I don't care what someone who's just watching TV and goes, okay, well, this is what it looks like from this angle that we got on the broadcast. No, give me the report that comes from the team doctor. The team doctor means way, way more. Okay, let me move up this draft board if we can. Okay, we're moving the wrong thing there. We're moving the wrong thing. Actually, I'm not going to bother moving the draft board. We're not going to bother with that right now. Darrell Henderson does go at the 501. Honestly, probably a little rich for me considering the trade that we had with Sony Michel, especially if you're a Christian McCaffrey build where you're not necessarily needing to stress the running back position. So I don't love getting Darrell Henderson there. Caden says, I'm a janitor. It's a torn ACL. Okay. That's pretty funny, my man. That's pretty funny. Okay. JC says nothing confirmed. Okay. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. I think we can all come out here and we can speculate, but anybody watching TV trying to tell you what it is, guys, they're not doing you any help. I think at this point, we more so just have to operate under the assumption that he's going to be out anywhere from 4 weeks to the entire season. I don't think it's going to be much in between that. Ripple says, I'm the team doctor. Okay. Thank God we actually have the Baltimore Ravens team doctor in this live stream. If you're not subscribing to the channel for this in-depth breakdown from the Baltimore Ravens team doctor, I don't know what you're subscribing for. I mean, we got him on the payroll right now, guys. We got him on the payroll. Okay. So let's switch this back over. We are about to be back on the clock at the 5:11. So at what point do we consider Dobbins? At what point do we consider Edwards? You know what would be fantastic today? Is if we get a $250 draft going today. Oh my gosh. Please drop a like, guys. Get this live stream recommended out to some new people so we can try to get a $250 draft going. So we have Javonte Williams at the 505. Now, y'all know I'm not a fan of Mike Davis. Not looking at Mike Davis in this range. Now, Thomas is on the clock after going Kelsey, Mixon, Amari, and Julio Jones. So I'm imagining that Thomas is going to go Odell Beckham Jr. here. We have seen Thomas slam the wide receivers in this middle rounds. Yeah, so Thomas does end up going Odell. Now, YouTube Slayer started off a Barkley, Gibson, Robinson, Tyler Lockett. So I think he can honestly go in a couple different ways. So he goes Robbie Anderson. So here, I think that we're actually going to end up taking a Lamar Jackson. Yeah, so let's take Lamar. He's been a quarterback that we've been trying to get more and more in these drafts. I will say an injury to Dobbins, I don't necessarily think it helps a Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of people want to say, well, Mason, they'll be more pass happy. Well, I want the offense to be more efficient. That's what I want. I want more trips to the red zone. I want more touchdowns overall. So while, yes, maybe they lean a little more pass happy, I think actually the efficiency kind of takes a dip with no J.K. Dobbins there. But anyway, Lamar at the 5'11". I mean, when he's the last tier of elite level play at the quarterback position, I think we're actually going to go out there and get him. And now DSR, maybe he gets a running back here. He has a David Montgomery, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and he just took Antonio Brown at the 5'12". So he goes Trey Sermon at the 601. Okay, so we get exactly what we're wanting. I've said this time and time again, but in my opinion, there is nothing that you can do that's better at this 5-6 turn than going Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. I understand that it's not necessarily a very high ceiling. I'm sorry. It's honestly a high ceiling, high floor play in my opinion. I mean, I think that Lamar's a very safe option at the very minimum, be a top 5 quarterback based on what we saw last year. In an extremely down year, you still had that elite fantasy production with his rushing upside. Mark Andrews was disappointing last year for the people drafting him in the 2nd, 3rd round. But I mean, if you're getting him here and you're getting that production that we saw last year, I'm going to be completely fine with Mark Andrews getting that stack. Y'all know that's exactly what I'm trying to do when I start with a Lamar Jackson in the 5th, and then we're going back to the 6th. I start with Lamar instead of Mark Andrews, and this is my quick, just little explanation behind it, is because if you're breaking it down by tiers, where we only have one elite quarterback left in this tier, and you have 2 tight ends that historically go back-to-back in these drafts, in a TJ Hawkinson and a Mark Andrews. So I'm thinking here, if DSR wants an elite level quarterback, I mean, he can end up just going with the Lamar Jackson, where he has no other options. But if he wants to bring in one of these tight ends, in theory, he could go TJ Hawkinson over Mark Andrews. So I think taking Lamar at the 5'11" actually increases your chance to get this stack. So that's the thought process in us taking Lamar there instead of Mark Andrews to start that off. And also, guys, if you are just now joining the live stream and you have no idea what's going on right now, maybe this is the first live stream that you have been a part of on this channel. Well, what we are actually doing is we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. This is where we draft every single night. This is my favorite place to do real money fantasy football drafts. I mean, we are literally drafting here throughout the day. I'm drafting here on a live stream every single night against real listeners of the channel for real money. And if you want to play on Underdog Fantasy, what you can do is you can deposit $10 with promo code FLOCK. And when you make that deposit, they actually add $25 to your account with promo code FLOCK. And here's the kicker. Because of this fantastic partnership that we have with Underdog Fantasy, when you make that $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK, you're not only getting paid $25 for you to go out there and for you to do your own real money fantasy football drafts, but on top of that, you're getting our 2021 fantasy football draft guide, our 2021 rankings and tiers, all of which are going to be updated until the beginning of the season. So you better believe we're getting a J.K. Dobbins and a Gus Edwards injury update in those rankings tonight after this live stream. And to go along with this, you're also getting our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. So you're getting both guides, hundreds of pages of information. You're getting our rankings and tiers updated all the way to the start of the season. And if we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, and this is why I'm talking about this so much, our video this morning got 10,000 views. So if we all just did this together right now, tonight, y'all would be done hearing me talk about this so often. But I want us to hit that 10,000 mark because Underdog Fantasy agreed that they will fly people to Tampa, Florida through a giveaway of people who use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me, to go to the Florida Flock meetup, and all at the same time, we'll do a 24-hour live stream. So let's get that goal. Let's get that going. And what we have seen now is Gus Edwards off the board at the 609. Okay, let me know what y'all are thinking about this, because obviously, if J.K. Dobbins is out for the year, that's a great pick. But honestly, if J.K. Dobbins is only out for a month, I don't necessarily think it's that bad of a selection either. The more I think about it, the more I really like that Gus Edwards pick at the end of the 6th. Honestly, I really like that selection, because what's the real downside here? I mean, if we get news that Gus Edwards is only going to be the starting running back for Baltimore for a month, then they're going to work J.K. Dobbins back in. Gus Edwards still probably going in the 7th round. I think that's a fantastic pick. I think in our real money drafts that we're going to be doing, I would probably be willing to take Gus Edwards at that 6-7 turn. Okay, so let's switch this back over. Okay, so now we are desperate for help at receiver. We have Lamar Jackson at quarterback. We have Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift at running back, Mike Evans at receiver, and Mark Andrews at tight end. In this format, you have to start 3 receivers, and to go along with it, I mean, I don't want to admit it, but best ball is going to make wide receivers more valuable inherently, given the fact that you're going to see random spike weeks from that position. So yeah, we are definitely going to have to bring in some receivers now, but at the same time, I mean, no, we can't do it. We're going to have to bring in receivers. I was going to say maybe, just maybe, we go with the Damian Harris, and then we only draft 4 running backs in this team. But honestly, I think we definitely need to bring in some receivers. And I will say something right now, talking about the Deshaun Watson situation. If Watson does get traded to Miami, dear Lord, this season is going to be fantastic. You have no idea how many leagues I have drafted Will Fuller and Devontae Parker in. And at the same time, in those same leagues, I'm not drafting Tua Tagovailoa. For whatever reason, it's honestly been a mistake in my game. And I'll say that we'll probably just get lucky, and we'll probably, I mean, just be in a great situation if that trade does end up happening. Now, when we're back up on the clock, I think one mistake that we have made when we take a Lamar Jackson, when we take an elite quarterback like this, is we're honestly kind of reaching sometimes on the quarterbacks in this tier, even though it looks like it's great value with both Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers. Instead, I actually think that we just bring another receiver into this situation with a Brandon Cooks, because we're already elite at the position. We already committed that much capital into the player like Lamar Jackson. So I think when we have Lamar, when we have Mark Andrews, we're going to have to wait a decent while until we bring in that next quarterback or that next tight end. Okay. And also, guys, if you have not gone down there and dropped a like on the live stream right now, definitely go out there and do that. And I will switch this chat over to subscriber only. Thank you so much for reminding me to do that. This is something that I need to get better with, because I know if it's not subscriber only, like, there's no way I can go through and manage all the messages in the live chat. Usually when it's on subscriber only, it's going to be a decent rate where we can go through and we can look at it. Okay, Daniel says, Mr. Glass can't stay healthy, referring to Will Fuller. Hell, my man, Will Fuller stayed healthy all year last year. I know it was with some PEDs, but at the same time, who's saying he's not taking those now? Who's saying he's not preparing for the season right now? Of course, I probably shouldn't say that out loud. I have nothing to say that based off of, but all I know is I think Will Fuller, honestly, he's probably gotten a little unlucky with injuries up until this point. While yes, he's going to be at a higher risk for injuries than someone that you would expect in a Corey Davis, in a Darnell Mooney, in a DJ Chark, a Jarvis Landry. I mean, I don't want to include Michael Thomas in that list, but we can also say that if all these wide receivers were going to play the same amount of games outside of Michael Thomas, these guys right here, we know Will Fuller would crush them, and it wouldn't be up for debate. Now, J.K. Dobbins going at the 807. Interesting with Dobbins. I will probably be avoiding in this range, even when there's a small chance that he only misses a few weeks. I just think the opportunity cost is a little too much. I just think it's a little bit too much to be taking a Dobbins there. Justin Herbert falls all the way to the 809. This is about the furthest that I've actually seen Justin Herbert fall. He was going a lot closer to Russell Wilson at the beginning of the offseason. So it's crazy to see Justin Herbert falling to this point now. I mean, if we wouldn't have taken a Lamar in the 5th, there would be a chance that we took Justin Herbert in the 8th, even without getting a stack on this team. Yeah, but Deezenators took Herbert, and he also had Mike Williams. So that was a fantastic value to go out there and to get that stack. And let me scroll up to the top of the draft board for anybody just now coming into this live stream. Okay, Callie is asking if we're going to get a $50 draft today. My man, we may get a $250 draft. Drop a like on the live stream. That way we get some more people recommended out here. And I would love to get a $250 draft going with some uncertainty out in the air, with some murkiness in the water of where to draft Gus Edwards, of where to draft J.K. Dobbins. I mean, I'd love to get that going. Okay, so now we have Marvin Jones, Michael Pittman, Curtis Samuel, Rondale Moore. Okay, so we have a decent amount of receivers. I mean, the past 3 rounds have just been receiver, 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 receiver. I mean, where in round 7, there were only 4 non-receivers drafted. In round 8, there were only 4 non-wide receivers drafted. So if we're looking at pretty much the past 25 picks, I mean, it seems like, if my math is correct, 17 out of 25 picks have been from the receiver position. So obviously that is not ideal with our receiver room currently being Mike Evans, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks. We are going to have to continue to possibly reach on some players in this range. But I'd imagine we start to get some running backs off the board pretty soon. At least I'm hoping we get some running backs off the board pretty soon. Okay, so Trey Lance at the 906. I actually got Trey Lance in the 10th round in a public underdog draft earlier today, and I actually took him on the same team that I had George Kittle. It was fantastic. I mean, I got like George Kittle at like the 306, and then I ended up getting like Trey Lance at the 907. I'm sorry, at the 1007 or 1006, where the hell it was. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. Michael Carter at the 907. At what point would we consider just taking him? At what point would we just have to go, okay, well, I guess we draft Aaron Rodgers here? I mean, I know that we took a Lamar Jackson, but in reality, who gives us more points? I know that, yeah, there are some gross options at other positions right now, and I was planning on going receiver in this round, but yeah, now that you have Devontae Parker off at the 909, honestly, I just think that based on best player available, it's going to be really hard to go with the receiver in this range. But how often are you getting the opportunity to draft Aaron Rodgers at the 911? Okay, he goes to the 910. So now I actually think that we're probably going to bring in a running back. I don't love the idea. I definitely prefer a receiver here. But the problem is, I think there's going to be a massive tier drop off with the running backs after this range. In receiver, I don't necessarily think that there is that same tier drop off. So between a Ronald Jones and a Zach Moss, I have drafted Zach Moss a lot more. And honestly, with the usage that you actually have with Giovanni Bernard, I'm just going to draft Zach Moss over Rojo. I know it seems aggressive, but at the same time, I think Zach Moss is playing with the better offense, and I have him in a ton of leagues, so I'd like to just root for one player this upcoming season. Let's take Zach Moss. And then honestly, what we may be doing here, this is something I very rarely do. We're probably going to draft Ronald Jones. We're going to draft Ronald Jones, and now we are done at the running back position. So this is something I'm trying to try out in a $10 draft. Yes, we only have 3 receivers, and very rarely are you looking at me load up on running backs like this. But I think considering that we're getting these running backs behind their ADP, like we're getting Ronald Jones 6 picks behind his ADP, and this is now a running back landscape where there's a lot of uncertainty and it's really hard to know who you're going to go after. I think that it's probably better to just lock in those guaranteed touches, and then we can get a lot of receivers. We can probably roster 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 9 receivers, and 2 tight ends on this team. Yeah, so let's get Rojo at the 1002. Okay, so let's go through. And Burr says he drafted J.K. Dobbins in every league. My man, I am sorry to hear that. I am sorry. Okay, so Russell Gage at the at the 1006. Melvin Gordon at the 1005. Terrace Marshall at the 1007. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, we're seeing wide receivers continue to go off the board. Okay, so Gardendale subscribing to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. No idea why that animation is on there for so long, but Noah Fant at the 1009. Okay, so it looks like the tight ends are pretty good values so far in this draft. I mean, getting Noah Fant at the 1009, Robert Tonyan at the 1011, it's honestly making me, it's hard to complain when we got Mark Andrews at the beginning of the 5th when we took Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, at the beginning of the 6th when we took Lamar Jackson at the end of the 5th. But if I didn't have Lamar and I ended up taking Andrews there, I probably would have been pissed at these people getting value on like a Robert Tonyan and Noah Fant like that, because those are fantastic tight end picks. Yeah, and Dallas Goedert goes to the 10-12 to Noah. Let's go through and let's check out Noah's team real quick. So he drafted from the 101. Like I said, wasn't a massive fan of Darrell Henderson here. Y'all know I do not like Kyle Pitts. Very standard turn going double receiver. Cortland Sutton at the 612. Dak Prescott at the 701. This is great value on Dak to stack with the CeeDee Lamb. Then get Curtis Samuel, Rondale Moore as some high upside receivers here. I possibly would prefer having a Hollywood Brown over a Rondale, to be honest. Then Dallas Goedert, Brian Edwards. Okay, so Kenyon Drake goes to the 1102. At this point, we're honestly just kind of hoping that we get some more running backs off the board. Sony Michel goes at the 1103. We want these running backs to start getting drafted. I mean, when we have 5 through 10 rounds so far, we're definitely only going to we're definitely only going to want to draft 5. I mean, I'm not drafting another. So if we're not drafting another, obviously it'd be nice to see these guys go off, possibly see a little bit of a run happen. But people don't like to see that on the live stream. People like to come after us. So it is what it is. Okay, Avery says, I'm the NFL commissioner. I'm a CFL commissioner, and Dobbins' leg is getting amputated. Well, apparently I cannot read, and apparently we have the CFL commissioner in the live chat right now. So that is a pretty big deal. Okay, so James Conner at the 1105. Mike Gesicki. Because that's just great value on those tight ends. Okay, obviously it sucks to see how this room, is letting these running backs fall like this. Still Jamal Williams, Leonard Fournette, Devin Singletary, all available right now. That's not exciting when we go out there and when we load up on running backs at the beginning of the draft, and we were kind of desperate for receiver at this point. You see you have Emmanuel Sanders at the 1108 by JN. Thomas back up on the clock. Honestly, Thomas only has 2 running backs. I'd imagine. Yeah, he goes Jamal Williams. Then you have YouTube Slayer here. If we could, I would go back and change the Zach Moss selection to a receiver in that range and then just get Devin Singletary here at the 11-12 turn. But obviously, it is what it is. We're just trying not to make the pivot now. Maybe we actually end up going with an Irv Smith and then we're done at tight end, having Irv Smith and Mark Andrews. It's just really scary what we're going to have at receiver in this draft. Okay, Leonard Fournette at the 11-10. I'm not going to be really considering Justin Fields here. No, tight ends we can get a lot of value at tight end later on. So here I actually think that we're going to end up going with a Cole Beasley. Now, obviously, Beasley, we have to be concerned about a couple things. I am the first person to admit that I do not know nearly enough with the COVID protocols. I don't know nearly enough of how it's going to have an impact this season. I don't know nearly enough of how it's going to impact Cole Beasley. I understand that some people want to say there are concerns circulating, but still, I think getting him here in this range is not going to be the worst thing. And we're just going to continue to bring in these Buffalo receivers that should be running a lot of routes. We have both strong games from Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis today, and we know that's going to be a passing offense with a ton of volume. So just going through and starting to bring in those wide receivers, I don't think that's going to be the worst idea, especially if we just want to make this team kind of a bet against Emmanuel Sanders, because if anything were to occur to Emmanuel Sanders, 34-year-old receiver, or even if he just looks as bad as he has in the recent years, then possibly Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis are a complete smash there. Okay, so Nelson Aguilar goes the 1203. Honestly, Naheem Hines at the 1204. Okay, so let's go through. Let's also check out Thomas's team. So Thomas so far took Kelsey at the 109, then Mixon at the 204. It's what Thomas really likes to do. Usually Thomas will go through and he'll lock up that bell cow running back, and then from there he just slams wide receivers afterwards. So he gets Amari, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr. Honestly, kind of surprised to see him go with the Kareem Hunt here. I love the Kareem Hunt value. I just know that he really likes receivers in this range. And then he goes Gallup, DJ Chark, Devontae Parker. This was fantastic value on all 3 receivers. And then he goes Ryan Tannehill as his first quarterback, and not getting a stack in, but it is what it is. Actually, no, he gets a stack in with Julio Jones. I apologize. Then he gets Jamal Williams and Naheem Hines in there, I believe, as his running back 3 and running back 4, behind both Kareem Hunt and Joe Mixon. Okay. So now we have some more receivers going off with AJ Green and Jalen Reagor, just guys that are going to see targets. Irv Smith, I honestly kind of considered going Irv Smith here at the 11-12 turn. Just going, okay, well, I guess we can lock up tight end and we're no longer going to have to look that route. But a big issue that I've had, a big problem that I've had in my drafts, in my opinion, is I think I go a little too early on that second tight end. I go a little too early on that second quarterback when we get an elite option. So I do think we end up having to wait. Okay, Yui says, how much does the draft guide cost without Underdog? Okay, so guys, going back, if y'all don't know, our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, hundreds of pages, also our rankings and our tiers. I am not selling them flat out just because the last thing I want is for someone to buy them and then all of a sudden hear about the deal that we're doing with Underdog and go, Mason, I bought the draft guide in the rankings for $70 and all I had to do is make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. Are you kidding me? Why would you sell me that for $70? Of course, I don't want to have to run into that scenario. So we don't have that scenario. I'm not just selling the fantasy football draft guide or the rankings. We do have them available on Patreon, however, for the Patreon community. But no, guys, all you have to do is make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy for a first-time user and use promo code FLOCK when you make that $10 deposit. Then you get our rankings, our tiers, our draft guides. You help the channel a ton, and you get $25 added to your account. So instead of me selling the draft guide for 70, 80 bucks, whatever it would be, I'm just saying, you know what? If you take the time out of your day, you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you will get $25 paid to you to do fantasy football drafts, and you'll get those rankings. You'll get those draft guides. So yeah, my man, we're not selling that outside of it. Okay. Thomas says, yeah, Hunt was too hard to pass up. Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt at the 604 is fantastic value. And what's crazy is if you get into some of these public Underdog leagues, you'll actually see Kareem Hunt, going a little bit beyond that. You'll see like Kareem Hunt at the end of the 6th round. Okay, so you have Randall Cobb at the 1303, Alexander Madison at the 1302. Randall Cobb, someone I feel like I've not been drafting nearly as much as we were just a few weeks back. I will say, obviously, playing a part of an elite offense. Now, David Johnson at the 1304. I have not seen David Johnson go in this range for a very long time. I actually took David Johnson in a live stream, I believe, last night or the night before. Maybe it was in a public draft. But I've taken David Johnson, I think, in a few drafts in the 17th, 18th round. I mean, you're very rarely seeing him go over Giovanni Bernard at this point. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. Ripple says, I'm the one who drafted J.K. Dobbins in the big dog last night. RIP Ripple, guys. We'll try to get another big dog draft going. If y'all don't know what a big dog draft going is, that is a $250 league on Underdog Fantasy. So obviously, if you drafted J.K. Dobbins in the $250 league last night, RIP, my man. I am very sorry to hear that. Sadly, I do not think that we got Gus Edwards. I can pull that up real quick. I was wondering if I had Gus Edwards in any of those big dog drafts. We've done 3 big dog drafts so far. I would love to get another $250 draft in tonight, but let me pull this up. Let me see if I've drafted Gus Edwards anywhere. I know we haven't drafted any J.K. Dobbins. Okay, so no, we don't have any Gus Edwards. We don't have any Dobbins either, though. So maybe it's a blessing and a curse. Okay, so we're not looking at running back. We are exclusively quarterback, receiver, and tight end from here. So if we were going to go with a quarterback, I think that it's just a clear call. I think we just have to draft a receiver here. We're more so just trying to bring in as much volume as we currently can at the receiver position, throwing just as many as many darts at the dartboard as possible. Y'all know I say that all the time. No idea why I can't nail that down. Okay, so we have, Caden says, we need a late stream again, my guy. Yeah, guys, we actually streamed until 1 a.m. last night. We had a very late stream. I don't know if I can do that again. My voice would be dead. We actually did, real quick, let's go through. I think we're just going to take Amaro St. Brown. I don't love it, but we're going to do it. We're going to get Amaro St. Brown, someone I'm not drafting a ton, but at the same time, maybe we just use this as a spot to get some exposure. We're going to take him here at the 1402. But yeah, we did a 1-hour stream last night. My dudes, let me see how many Patreon podcasts I got up today. I did so many Patreon team breakdowns. We had a ridiculous amount of people joining the flock. Let me pull this up real quick because, y'all can probably hear it in my voice, but I'm having a hard time going through, my dudes. I'm having a hard time going through. Okay, so if I pull this up, let's view the page. Yeah, so Philip Lindsay at the 1403. Very rarely are you seeing Philip Lindsay fall that far either. A lot of times you're seeing, pretty much exclusively, you're seeing Philip Lindsay get drafted ahead of David Johnson now. But if I go through, I check out how many Patreon podcasts we got out today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we got 7 podcasts out today. Yesterday, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we got 7 Patreon podcasts out back-to-back days. So my voice, after a live stream until 1 a.m. last night as well, I don't know how much more it can handle. We're not going to be able to do another 1 a.m. live stream. I'll tell you that right now. Mike says, how did I miss the big dog draft last night? Yeah, my man, we did it at the very end of the draft. We did a $250 draft at the very end of the draft last night. I was streamed last night. Honestly, probably not the best call, but it was about to fill. We got the itch. We got like 400 likes or something on the live stream. So we went out there and we jumped in another one. Okay, so you have KJ Hamler, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Ben Roethlisberger goes to the 14-11. Honestly, quarterback at this point, you can wait so long on quarterback. Now that it looks like Jameis Winston is announced the starter in New Orleans, Teddy Bridgewater announced the starter in Denver. I mean, we have some more clarity with those situations where those quarterbacks are now draftable. So you can wait so long on quarterback where, honestly, a Ben Roethlisberger at the 14-11, I'm not necessarily a massive fan of. I think we actually got him in the, I believe, 16th round in a public draft earlier today. Yeah, I think we got him in the 16th. JN says, my draft sucks. Enjoy the dono. Let's go through and let's check out JN's team real quick. Let's go and let's check out JN's team. And we're going to get another draft going after this one. If you are new to the live stream, we get a ton of drafts going every single night. So make sure you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK so you can get in some of these drafts with us. Well, let's go through and let's check out JN's team where, I mean, he just loaded up on receiver. Tyreek, Hopkins, Godwin. Then he gets Chris Carson at the 405, Chase Claypool at the 508, Mike Davis at the 606. So I will say, Mike Davis, you know, I hate Mike Davis. I draft him very, very rarely. Maybe this is like the one team that you're wanting to draft him on. You have elite production at receiver already. You're just more so looking for guaranteed touches at running back. So it would be gross to draft them on a team where you took a running back or two in the first and second round. In this format where you wait and you're getting your second running back in the 6th, then you drafted your first guy in the middle of the 4th, maybe that's okay. Then you get Tom Brady at the 908 to get the stack in with a Chris Godwin. Melvin Gordon as your running back 3, Emmanuel Sanders, Irv Smith. That was great value in Irv Smith. Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Williams. Then Zach Wilson at the 1508. Don't necessarily know if I love the Zach Wilson selection, just like going back to what I was saying. I mean, I think you have so many quarterbacks that are now available that are going to be intriguing to you. I mean, a Baker Mayfield, Ryan Fitzmagic. Remember when they were consistently going in the 13th round and how bad those draft picks were? My God, people were consistently drafting Baker and Ryan Fitzmagic in the 13th. That was hilarious. Okay, now Jameis Winston goes to the 15-10. Honestly, I think that we're just going to be bringing in another tight end to this situation. We have Mark Andrews. Let's bring in Hunter Henry as our second tight end. Actually, let's look at where DSR is. A DSR technically can bring in a third tight end, so we're not going to risk it. Let's just bring in Hunter Henry. And then from here, we are done at running back. We are done at, tight end. So we are now just going to be drafting one more quarterback and 2 more receivers to end this draft. Okay, so Austin Hooper goes to the 1601. So now do we just take the falling knife? I mean, very, very rarely are you seeing him fall this far. We're just going to end up taking Baker Mayfield. Baker was someone I was screaming was drastically overrated when he was going in the 13th round, but if we're getting him in the 16th now, I think we are fine, and we're just going to end our draft with 2 receivers after this. Yeah, so let's go through and let's recap what we have done so far. We took Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler to start this draft, then Mike Evans, DeAndre Swift at the 3-4 turn, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. We got the elite Baltimore Ravens stack in there at 5-6. Then we're just going wide receiver depth after this with Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Zach Moss, Ronald Jones, ending our running back room. And then Beasley, Gabriel Davis, T.Y. Hilton, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hunter Henry, and Baker Mayfield. So our last 2 rounds are going to be made up from the receiver position, just trying to get guys that are going to be seeing targets. Okay, so Devin's saying, how much is the next draft going to be? The next draft we'll try to get what I'm probably going to do is after this one, I'm going to go and I'm going to check out the lobby and the big dog draft. I can actually do that right now. I'm going to see how many spots are available in the big dog because I would love to get a $250 draft going right now, to be honest. Okay, we're going to do a big dog draft after this. If y'all want to get in the next draft, this is going to be a $250 league, and I will I don't want to show it right now on the screen, but the reason why we're doing this is I think that you're actually going to have Underdog not filling this contest. And if the contest doesn't fill, that actually means that Underdog is going to have to throw money into the league pot because they have guaranteed prizes. So you're going to be going for the same amount of money with less people in the contest. So I think that it's going to be very advantageous for us to go out there and try to fire some contest into the big dog, especially when there is uncertainty currently about both J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Maybe there's a room to profit with those running backs. So yeah, we are going to be entering into that contest. Make sure you go and just go to the public lobby on Underdog Fantasy after you use promo code FLOCK if you're wanting in this, and then go to the Big Dog public room. That's going to be the $250 buy-in league. There's currently 3 spots left available. Yeah, so we're definitely going to just be sitting in there waiting, because I think that we're not going to have to wait too long if we have our guaranteed spot right now. Okay, so we have some more receivers going at the end of this draft. Obviously, we do not like to see wide receivers get drafted in this range. We want those guys falling to us at the 17, 18 turn. So hopefully that ends soon. Hopefully we just get those guys making it back to us. Okay, we have Old Cali Vance subscribing to the channel. We have Broncos subscribing to the channel. We have a Dragonukano Trader all subscribing. Thank you, everybody, for going and joining the flock. Now, we actually may be turning off this. We may be getting out of this room, and we may be switching over to a Big Dog draft right now. We have 1 spot left in the Big Dog. If anybody wants to come in, this is the $250 league. There's 1 spot left. And yeah, we may be turning off. Okay, this just filled. This just filled. Let's get the 101. Let's get the 101. Come on. We end up getting the 111. Well, good news and bad news. Bad news, we got the 111. Good news is we just drafted from the 111, so we're warm as hell. We know exactly what to expect. So let's switch this over. I'm going to be switching this around real quick. We'll get a Big Dog draft going up here. And yeah, y'all don't need to see the last 2 rounds. This is just a $10 draft. We're going to have a $250 draft right now. It's going to be a $250 draft. Okay, we're going in. Oh my God. This is nerve-wracking, guys. This is our first time being in a Big Dog draft where we are not drafting at the top. This is our first time drafting instead at the 111. Oh my God, this is a $250 league. Make sure y'all go down there. Make sure you drop a like. We are doing this very often. And the best thing about this channel is, while I know I am obviously not an idiot, I know that there are a lot of people watching this live stream right now that are smarter than me and better at fantasy football than I am. I mean, there's no way that out of the 500 or so people watching this live stream that I am the smartest person here. But I know that I'm smarter than the majority of people here. So what I'm willing to do is go out here and do these high stakes, real money fantasy football drafts every single night on the live stream. So make sure you come out here. If you think you're better than me, I would love to come out and play you. So just make sure you make that $10 deposit, promo code FLOCK. When you use promo code FLOCK, you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 fantasy football rankings, our draft guide, hundreds of pages of information sent to you so you can use them against me. So make sure you're doing so. And yeah, and come out if you think you're better than me and you can have a real shot at taking my $250, because I'm going to be trying to do this very often. And also, it looks like Deezinators got out here in this draft. Scorpions got out here. We have Chase out here as well. Okay, so I think we have some people from the flock. Ketchup Stain, Dome Favors. Okay, Dome Favors, guys. This sucks having to draft next to him. This is someone that literally every $250 draft that we have done, he's been in here. And that has to kind of tell us that this is a guy that knows what he's doing. You can't necessarily just see the same guy in every $250 draft and go, okay, well, I wonder how he's in here again. He's in here because he knows exactly what he's doing. So this is probably, honestly, like if someone was going to be giving y'all advice, I don't know anything about him. I've seen 3 drafts of his and he's looked extremely sharp. And knowing that he just sits in these $250 drafts all day, I'm assuming that he is a professional fantasy football player. And there's a big difference between being a professional fantasy football player and being someone who makes a living off fantasy football by doing YouTube, Patreon, and fantasy football drafts. While yes, a decent amount of my revenue comes from fantasy football winnings, if this is a professional fantasy football player, I don't know, but I will say it's significantly more impressive to just have all of your income coming from fantasy football drafts. If that's the case, I would love to say that could be us, but clearly it isn't. So I'm just assuming that this player is maybe better than we are. But let's see what he does in the first round. And this is going to be a tough draft, my dudes. This is going to be a very tough draft. So he goes Aaron Jones. So we're going to take Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, I actually have him ranked at the 104. I'm sorry, the 105 in a full PPR redraft league, getting him here at the 111. We want to get our guys in a $250 draft. This is a $250 draft. Okay, Party Till She's Hot coming out says, good luck, fam. You're in there with the big dogs. Yes, sir. This is a big dog draft for sure. Seeing these people with all the experience badges out here. You got some guys with the headbands, guys rocking gear on their profile pics. Okay, so now let's go through after we have, so Calvin Ridley at the 112. Okay, so I'm just kind of seeing what we may have fallen back to us. And a big thing is in these drafts, we have to take Taylor. We took Taylor in the first and the last draft at the 110. Yeah, starting Barkley and Taylor, this is one of my dream starts. We're going Barkley and Taylor. Now, it is very concerning. From here, I think we may be literally only drafting receivers. I think it may be just receiver, unless we get some crazy value falling to us at running back. I mean, like the last big dog $250 draft we were in, we had a couple teams in the lobby literally draft like 7 receivers in a row, and it soaked up the position extremely fast. Now, of course, we can't necessarily just say that's automatically going to happen, but we definitely have to keep it in the back of our minds. Okay, Benny says, what do the badges mean and the headbands on the dogs? So this red badge here means that he was either playing Underdog a lot last year and he has a decent amount in winnings, or he's played in 1,000, he's entered into 1,000 drafts this year. That's what that means. This one is a $500. I mean, this one is a 500 draft marker. So of course we're going to have the red badge next year based on the winnings that we should have with how many leagues we have entered. But since I didn't enter into this many leagues last season, we don't have any badges, which kind of sucks. Makes us look like a chump. The headband, I don't necessarily know what the headband is. I haven't played around with changing my dog that much. But we have 2 people in here with the red badges. Okay, so from here. Okay, Broadshaw says, Mason, you're going to get worked if you don't change how you're drafting on Underdog. My man, what's great is if you think I'm going to get worked and you think that we are that bad at drafting, I would love for you to come out and for you to come take our 250. For you to take our 250. Okay, so Joe Mixon at the 207. So very interesting here. Obviously, we're hoping we get wide receivers falling to us. So seeing Mixon, seeing Najee Harris go off at the 207, 208. Honestly, it's nice. Of course, those players were never making it back to us in the third, and I would have drafted them if they made it back to us in the third. You don't need me to tell you that. But it's nice to just go through and see that this $250 draft, I mean, these people are maybe going to go a little more running back heavy than we initially feared. Yeah, Nick Chubb at the 209. Imagine getting Nick Chubb falling to the 209. And this is kind of what I was saying, guys, if y'all remember at the beginning of the offseason when Nick Chubb was a first-round selection, I was screaming how overrated Nick Chubb was in fantasy. Josh Allen at the 211. I know you want to be building some unique teams here. I understand that you want to be building unique teams. But what does Josh Allen do for you at the 211 when you 100% can get him at the 411? That makes no sense. This is a $250 draft, my dudes. This is a $250 draft. So CeeDee Lamb at the 301. Okay, so Lamb at the 301. I just want to see what this team is doing. Going Kamara, Allen, McLaurin. Like, I don't necessarily see how that's that unique of a team, to be honest. Like, what are you doing taking Allen here? The thing is, guys, when we're drafting these $250 drafts, y'all know I'm always the first person to admit that I'm an idiot. There are a lot of things that I get wrong. There are a lot of things that I don't fully understand. So when we get into these high-stakes drafts with the big dogs, I mean, in the back of my mind, I am always going, what are we missing? It's not like when I'm in a puppy draft and I look at someone do something dumb and I'm like, oh my God, look at that idiot. What is he doing? Of course that's wrong. When we're in the $250 draft where these people are regulars, these people are the high rollers, the people putting real money on their fantasy football drafts, I'm more so sitting here going, what am I missing? What do I not understand? Because my natural assumption with a lot of these players, right or wrong, is that they are not stupid. My natural assumption is a lot of guys, like if you enter into a regular big dog draft, my natural assumption that I go into the draft room with is I'm going to be one of the worst players in here. That's my assumption. Now, right or wrong, I like to approach the draft that way. That way I can keep an open mind. That way we can try to make sure that we are fully understanding what other teams are trying to accomplish and then try to determine if we think that's optimal or if it's doing anything in particular. Now, we have Ketchup Stain here. This is a very experienced drafter, punting the running back position so far, going with the Cooper Kupp at the 307. But to be completely honest, I don't necessarily think that you can look to go with the running back here. Now you have James Robinson at the 308. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. Okay, Jay-Z Rucker. He went back-to-back receiver in the first 2 rounds. So obviously we're going to get a group of wide receivers that we like falling to us. DeAndre Swift at the 309. Thank God we want to see these running backs get drafted. We want to see these running backs come off the board. And we're not considering J.K. Dobbins anywhere near this range. Now, what is so interesting, guys, is this is a $250 draft. And in a $250 draft, we are going to be in a spot where we don't know what to do with Gus Edwards. We don't know where Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins should be going. So the pressure is on. We're going to take Amari Cooper at the 311. We're building this team so far with Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Amari Cooper. I really like this draft. Robert Woods goes at the 312. Y'all know who we're hoping here. Y'all know who we are hoping falls to us. So Lockett goes. So we get our guy. We get our guy, Chris Godwin. I'm drafting Chris Godwin in almost every single league. So I really like the start that we have so far. With Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, then getting some receivers with upside and a very high floor in here as well. And this is a $250 draft. This is a big boy draft, so let's go. God, winning the $100,000 on Underdog would be fantastic. And obviously, it's nicer to go, okay, well, you can play in the $25 with $1 million on top on Underdog. You can play in the $5 with $200,000 on top on Underdog. But if you do the math with the big dog, it's not like buying a lotto ticket. It's not like buying a lotto ticket at all. I don't want to say you have a good chance to win it because, of course, you don't have a good chance. But you have a realistic chance. Like, if we pull it up, the big dog right now, let me just do some math real quick. Okay, so if we're looking at the big dog, this sucker may not even fill by the time we get to the season. And, of course, we're hoping, to be completely honest, I'm hoping it doesn't fill. I'm hoping it doesn't fill, so our teams are going up against less. So there are 960 entrants so far. And of course, you get paid money for getting first in your league. You get paid money for getting second. You get paid money for getting third, yada, yada, yada. But if you get first or second in your league, you get entered into a fantasy football tournament for the fantasy football playoffs, where you have 100,000 for first. You have 50,000 for second. You have 40,000 for third. You have 30,000 for fourth. You have 25,000 for fifth. You have 20,000 for sixth, and so on and so on and so on down the ladder. So if there are 960 people entered, that's not like it's a long shot, but it's not like it's impossible. So building a strong team here means a ton. Okay, so now Julio Jones falls all the way to the 407. I've been seeing Julio Jones fall a decent amount in these drafts. And to be completely honest, I'm just soaking up the Julio value at the end of the fourth here every single time. I love that value for Julio. Of course, I'm not considering taking him over Amari Cooper or Chris Godwin. But getting a Julio Jones here at the 407, I think that is a fantastic draft pick. I do like seeing Kyle Pitts go at the 404 because that's someone that honestly did not care to draft whatsoever. Okay, so Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. You have a couple of these Pittsburgh Steelers receivers going. I don't even know what we want falling back to us at this point. The question, you know what? No, I'm going to have to keep my mouth shut. A big thing is, guys, also, this is a $250 draft. And it's really easy for these people to go, okay, well, I see Fantasy Flock is in the room. We don't respect him. We don't think he's smart, but we can at least pull up his live stream and try to figure out where he's going to be taking his picks and make our decisions based on that. So I'm going to have to kind of keep my thought process a little tight just because I want to make sure that we're still having some kind of edge and I'm having some kind of secret on what we're trying to accomplish in this draft. Because in a $5 or $10 or even a $50 draft, I'm willing to go out here and I'm willing to talk through every pick. But in a $250 league, I think we have to more so be a little quiet with this one. But guys, of course, if you have not dropped a like, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, what do I need to do to get y'all to drop that like and to subscribe to the channel? This is back-to-back live streams with $250 live drafts. We'll probably try to get another one going tomorrow night. So make sure you are dropping that like, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. And if you want to come out to these live streams and you're not just watching it as a video later on, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified whenever we go live. Okay, and also we're going to hit 32,000 subscribers tonight, guys. We're going to hit 32,000 subscribers. This is fantastic. I don't know if we will 100% in the live stream. If you drop a like on the live stream, get us recommended to some new people, we may. Okay, so now Jerry Judy goes to the 506. Okay, so y'all know what we have said time and time again. In the 5th round, there's no such thing as a bad selection. In the 5th round, you're in the middle of no man's land. Now, Kyler Murray does go at the 507. This is intriguing to see Kyler go at the 507 when there's not going to be a single stack here. I wonder if what we would prefer between going with the Mahomes and the 406 to get the stack with Kelsey and then just going with the receiver here instead. Now, if we're going to be switching this back over, I can't say too much because we're going to be back on the clock right after the 511 here. But Jay-Z Rucker has a 1 running back, 2 receivers, and a tight end. So he goes Devonta Smith at the 509. Michael Gallup goes at the 510. Oh my God, am I going to hate myself for this? We may hate ourselves for this. Holden's gone Eckler, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett. Keep in mind, guys, this is a $250 draft. Like, the pressure is on. Of course, I feel this kind of pressure. James coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. I will get to that in 1 second. My dude. Okay, of course we have Mark Andrews, so we're not going to get that stack. I'm not going to cry about it. It is what it is. I'm not going to cry about it. Lamar, we can still stack him a little later on. We can still possibly go out there, get a Rashad Bateman. We can still get a Hollywood Brown. And also, you don't need the stack with Lamar Jackson. So it is what it is. And at this point, so the thing is, y'all know in a regular draft, of course, I'm going to be going with the Josh Jacobs here. But the problem we find is I just think receivers going to get soaked up so fast. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go Jacobs. And we're still going to go Jacobs. If I need to stop drafting running backs and instead only draft 4 running backs, like if we get another guy in the 7th, then so be it. We're going to go Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs. I'm not going to be taking a Tyler Boyd over Josh Jacobs. I can't bring myself to do it. I know a lot of people are going to see that and they're going to think it's dumb. But worst case scenario, we only roster 4 running backs in this build and we go through and we roster 11, 12 receivers. Now Mike Davis goes to the 604. I know a lot of people probably wanted us to go wide receiver there. I know the math maybe says to go receiver. But I think that if we go Jacobs and if we get caught in a spot where we think that there's going to be another good value at running back here, F it, we'll go with running back again, and then we'll just scratch that position off our draft board from here on out. Now, I want to see where does Gus Edwards, where do J.K. Dobbins go in this draft? I have no idea what to expect on that. I have no idea where to expect them to go. Aaron says, imagine drafting a month ago and taking James Robinson, Darrell Henderson, and Bryan Edwards. You know, my man, that's probably happened. That's probably happened on a few teams. I was just very scared to think about it. And that's one reason I'm not necessarily wanting to fire up a lot of teams in the best ball. Because in the best ball mania, where that has been going on all offseason, I'd imagine there were a couple teams that were able to pull that off. Where in the big dog, no teams were able to pull that off. I mean, that actually happened after the Cam Akers injury. So, and also not that many teams were drafted as well. So you don't have to be worried about a super team being built like that. The math doesn't really check out. But let's go through and let's show off the entire draft board for anybody just now coming into this live stream. So we drafted here. And of course, when we take a Lamar in the 5th, we were really hoping that we were going to get Mark Andrews falling to us in the 6th round. It doesn't happen. It is what it is. And I think we just kind of move on at this point. But yeah, Trey Sermon going at the 609. Obviously, we're kind of hoping that we see running backs getting drafted from here on out, but you never know in these leagues. You never know. Ripple says, are we going to do another big dog draft? Probably not tonight, my man. Probably, unless we get, If we got like a ridiculous amount of likes and people out here, then maybe we could do another $250 draft. How about this? If we got, keep in mind, $250, that would be me spending $500 on this live stream. If we got, let's call it 600 likes. There are about 600 people that, let's call it 650 likes, because so far this live stream's gotten close to about 3,000 views. If we get 650 likes, there are 600 people in this live stream right now. By the end of this draft, we'll fire up another $250 league. We'll fire up another 250. Now, Gus Edwards goes at the 701 after Trey Sermon, Javonte Williams, Kareem Hunt, Yev Edwards. Very interesting. Very interesting. I definitely was probably going to take Gus Edwards if he fell to us at the 7-8 turn. I just don't even know what to say about it, to be completely honest. If we go through, if we look at that 101 team that just decided to take a Gus Edwards, they have Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery, and Edwards at the running back position. And then at receiver, we have Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Robbie Anderson, Antonio Brown. Okay, Major says, you forgot to answer to the guy that donated to you. Oh, yeah, I'm very sorry about that, guys. I just got a ton on my mind in a $250 draft. But we pulled this up. Okay, so James says, trade Kittle and Darrell Henderson for Antonio Gibson and Irv Smith Jr. No, honestly, I think that we would rather just have the elite tight end in George Kittle, to be completely honest. Fallon says, Mason, are we running another tonight? Yeah, we're definitely going to get another draft. We're going to get another draft going no matter what tonight. We're getting another draft going tonight, my dudes. Don't worry about this at all. Okay, so Russell Wilson goes to the 705. Obviously, we were hoping we see these quarterbacks go off the board when we take Lamar at the 511. When we take Lamar at the 511, we're really hoping we get some more quarterbacks off the board. Okay, so let's check out Team 2 real quick. I see a lot of people talking about Team 2. Goes with a Michael Thomas in the 7th round. Okay, so I just think that, like, what are you accomplishing here? You could have gotten a Josh Allen reasonably at the 502, and you could have gone with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Allen, instead of Josh Allen, Darrell Henderson. Like, literally, you voluntarily went from, you know what? I don't really want Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let's get Darrell Henderson instead. It really doesn't make much sense to me. Okay. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. What point? Actually, no, we can't consider him. We can't consider him. Okay, Tom says, how do you get into the drafts? Okay, so all you have to do is make sure that you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. This is where we draft every single night. And once you do that, we're going to be sending out links to our, I'll get to that in a second. Let me get my next 2 picks out. I'm sorry about this, guys. Will Fuller goes, our guy. Will Fuller off the board. So y'all know we desperately need receivers now. I mean, we have no option. We have no option. We're taking a Jarvis Landry here. And honestly, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd, not that far from me. Like, I definitely prefer like the combination of Jarvis Landry and Josh Jacobs compared to Tyler Boyd, Chase Edmonds. So honestly, I'm not going to be crying about that pick too much. Now, Holden, let's see what he did. So he went Eckler, Ridley, Woods, Lockett, Debo, Andrews. Honestly, I'm not a massive fan of that team, to be honest. You're not even that strong at receiver. I'll get Chase Edmonds at the 712. Jalen Waddle at the 801. Okay, so now it comes down to what are we wanting between Myles Gaskin and Brandon Cooks? The running backs that we can get later on, let's just get Brandon Cooks coming in. We're going to get Brandon Cooks as our wide receiver 4. Yes, it's gross, but we did this to ourselves. We did this to ourselves by drafting a Josh Jacobs at the 602. Kind of locked and loaded with those current running backs that we have. So, Tom, yes, we're going to go through and we are going to just every single draft that we do is going to be hosted on Underdog Fantasy. Like I've already said, when you use promo code FLOCK, make that $10 deposit, you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Rankings, our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, our 2021 Fantasy Football Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, hundreds of pages of information. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be sending out a link to the private league in the live chat. And that automated message that y'all see going over and over and over again in the live chat, that's just to help you get set up with promo code FLOCK. So you can find that link in the live chat. You can find it in the description of the video because that's my link and it's going to help you a lot easier to get that promo code in. So make sure you're going through one of those links. But whenever we're ready to fill a league, it's going to be obviously after this draft. And what I'll be doing is I'll be sending out a link in the live chat and it will say $50 draft here, blank, or $10 draft here, blank, whatever y'all vote on what the buy-in of the league y'all want. That's when it's going to get sent out. But let's go through and let's look at Ketchup Stain. So this is a team that is yet to draft a running back so far. He has slammed receiver in this. And this is a highly experienced drafter. Keep that in mind. So he's gone Travis Kelce in the first, Kyler Murray in the fifth. So he has the elite tight end, the elite quarterback. And from here, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Rondale Moore. This is what I'm talking about. This is what you usually see the very experienced drafters do. They go very wide receiver heavy. Now, I want to see, like, how many roster spots are you reasonably using on the running back position here? How many roster spots are you using on the running back position when you build that way? Aaron says, is Darrell Henderson much of a receiving back? I mean, he wasn't at Memphis, but you have to keep in mind at Memphis, he was also playing in the same offense as Tony Pollard. So Tony Pollard was getting the majority of the receiving down usage in Memphis when Darrell Henderson wasn't. But also Malcolm Brown was stealing targets from him out of the backfield last year, even when he was the feature running back. So I think Darrell Henderson, very similar like Josh Jacobs, where they can catch passes. It's definitely not going to be their strength. So I honestly don't really know what to expect because obviously Sony Michel, kind of a running back that you're not expecting to catch passes either in Los Angeles. Okay, so Gabriel Davis, the 902, after the big preseason performance today. Okay, so Marquez Callaway at the 901. Obviously, I'm honestly just hoping that wide receivers make it back to us. We have the elite quarterback already. Let me see if any other teams have really punted running back so far. Not that many other teams have punted running back. I do like to see that team number 2 here. I honestly think this is a donation to the league pod, to be completely honest. I mean, McLaurin, Claypool, Michael Thomas, Gabriel Davis at receiver. I think you probably need more firepower than that. Raheem Mostert finally goes at the 903. Logan Thomas at the 904. So I'm kind of hoping that Ketchup Stain can't find running back value, but Damian Harris is on the board. Dear Lordy, give that to Chase. Give it to Chase. Ketchup Stain's walking around away here with either Damian Harris, A.J. Dillon, or Michael Carter. And that's someone that is loaded at every position other than running back. Okay, Chase is really taking this down to the very, very last second. He has Henry, Joe Mixon, and right. Okay, so he has a lot of guaranteed. He takes Damian Harris. Okay, so maybe I guarantee you Ketchup Stain here is going to A.J. Dillon. I guarantee he's going to A.J. Dillon. I mean, and then all of a sudden, if anything were to occur to Aaron Jones, like we've already seen with Dobbins, like we have seen with Travis Etienne, like we have seen with Cam Akers, then A.J. Dillon's a running back 1 in fantasy, and he just crushes everyone. I would be, yeah, he goes A.J. Dillon. You kind of know that those very experienced drafters are drafting Dillon. Dillon makes so much sense for this format. Okay, so Scorpion on the clock. He only has 2 receivers so far. His only receivers are going to be Tyreek Hill and DK Metcalf. So he goes Marvin Jones. Now Jay-Z Rucker goes Jalen Hurts as his first quarterback. Dome Favors he goes Tom Brady. So thank God. This was best case scenario here. We get Hollywood Brown at receiver as our wide receiver 5 on a team where we took Lamar Jackson at QB. We really needed Hollywood there. That was best case scenario for us. I honestly thought it was not likely whatsoever for that to happen. We definitely got lucky there with Hollywood falling. Now with our next selection, I'd imagine that we're probably going to end up going with the tight end just because this is usually the tight end round. And after this, it's going to get really gross at the position. And obviously, we don't pick again for like 22 picks. So there's no way that we have any of those guys in Tyler Higbee, Noah Fant, Robert Tonyan, or Dallas Goedert making it back to us. So I think we really just do have to go out there. We have to draft one of those players. Yeah, so Devontae Parker goes to the 912. But receivers also about to see a massive fall off. How much sense does it make to just draft 3 tight ends and maybe punt? So Russell Gage goes. So if we were going to draft a receiver, it would have had to been Russell Gage. So Michael Carter, I think, given the fact that he is definitely trending in the wrong direction going into the season, I'm not going to be considering him here at the 10:02. So instead, we probably are going to just be going with the Tyler Higbee as our first tight end off the board. Yeah, so let's just go with the Tyler Higbee here. So I'll go through and I'll show this draft off so far. We have a donation coming in from Gavin. Thank you, my man. So we drafted at the 111. We have Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Amari, Godwin, Lamar, hoping that we had Mark Andrews fall back to us. Doesn't happen. Then we get Jarvis, Brandon Cooks, Hollywood Brown, and Tyler Higbee. Okay, so now let's go back and let's check out Gavin's donation. He says, standard draft at the 106. Would you rather have Zeke, Adams, Eckler, or Saquon Barkley? Okay, so I'd say if this is a non-PPR format, I'm going to be going with Ezekiel Elliott. If this is a PPR league, I'm going to be going with Devontae Adams. If you have 2 flex spots, or if you have 3 wide receiver mandatory starting lineup spots. But if you're only playing in a league where you go 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and it's a full PPR, then I'm going to be going with the Saquon Barkley. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. Obviously, you have the injury concerns. You have the offensive line concerns. But yeah, if it's a full PPR league, Saquon Barkley can average more than 7 targets per game, which is obviously a cheat code at the position. So that's where I would go. Okay, so we have Melvin Gordon at the 10:06 to catch up Stain, who has taken his second running back now. He has Melvin Gordon and A.J. Dillon. That team is pretty damn scary. Okay, so Ryan Tannehill does go at the 10:07. So Ronald Jones at the 10:08. Ronald Jones, that's fantastic value on Ronald Jones by Deezenators. Guys, if y'all don't know who Deezenators is, he is out here in all of our drafts. He's out here every single night pretty much. And so far, if we go through his team, he has Zeke, Najee Harris, Ronald Jones at running back. I think that's a very strong room at running back considering the prices that you ended up spending. And then you actually have at receiver, Brandon Ayuk, Adam Thielen, Laviska Shenault, Darnell Mooney, and Elijah Moore. And then you have the elite tight end in George Kittle. You get Russell Wilson at the 7:05. Don't have a stack with Russell Wilson. It would have been intriguing if possibly just waiting until the 8th round and getting a Justin Herbert. Like, probably would have been better to get either one of Cortland Sutton and Justin Herbert or Juju Smith-Schuster and Herbert versus Wilson and Darnell Mooney. But I'm just not a massive fan of Darnell Mooney. But I think that's a great team overall so far. And keep in mind, guys, this is a $250 draft. Okay, so Austin coming out says, are you fading A.J. Brown with the fact that he had a bilateral knee surgery early this year and already tweaked it? You think this is going to be an issue going forward? No, not worried whatsoever. I think for whatever reason, people in the fantasy football community over the past year or so have gotten so caught up on the fact that they think they can predict injuries. And if you look at the success rate that people have been able to label injury-prone players with, people are not very good at labeling injury-prone players. I mean, it's sad to say, but don't be trying to do that. I think you're really getting ahead of yourself when you do. Okay, so JE coming out says, ask for a 250 count. We need 9 more. Okay, so guys, like I said, if we hit 600 likes in this live stream, if everybody goes down there right now and drops a like on the live stream, we will get this easily. We'll hop in the $250 draft after this one. If we get 600 likes in this live stream, we'll do another $250 draft right after this. So make sure you go down there and drop that like if you want us to get in that league. So Justin Fields goes to the 11:06. Miles says he just drafted tonight and got Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. Okay, my man, I'm assuming that you're either playing in a 4-6-man league or you're playing with children. Those are my assumptions. Okay, so at the 11:11, Michael Carter falling like a rock. For good reason, obviously. Okay, so Brian Edwards. Sony Michel goes at the 11:10. I think we go Mike Gesicki here, to be honest. We have the elite quarterback already in Lamar. There are more quarterbacks that are draftable now as well. We're going to go Mike Gesicki, and now we're going to be done at tight end when we have Tyler Higbee and Mike Gesicki. So we're going to save another roster spot for receiver. We're going to save another roster spot for running back. And Matt Ryan goes to the 11-12. Michael Carter. Okay, so now we get another wide receiver coming in. So we do get a double stack in here with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Rashad Bateman, you don't love this value, especially considering the fact that, I mean, he's not going to be putting up points at the beginning of the year, which is going to be very difficult to overcome. But if we do get to the tournament at the end of the season, I would love the idea of having the double stack of Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, and Rashad Bateman on this team. So we're going to get Rashad Bateman coming in the 13th round at the 1302. At the 1202. At the 1202. So definitely, I don't want to say a reach on a Rashad Bateman, but that's a high price to pay on Bateman. Okay, so now JN coming out says, rate the running backs in a high-stakes league. Sanders, James Robinson, Melvin Gordon, Malcolm Brown, Tevin Coleman, Sony Michel. I think it's best ball. It was the first 500 you launched. Okay, my man. Okay, so that $500 league that we launched, the original high-stakes flock league, that's not best ball, my man. That is just submit your starting lineup each and every week. So Miles Sanders, James Robinson. Okay, so you have presumably 2 running back 2s there. Melvin Gordon. I'm assuming that's Malcolm Brown, Tevin Coleman, Sony Michel. I think you really got... Let me pull up your team in that league, my man. Let me pull up your team. So maybe is that Aaron Jones? I don't know. But regardless. Our team in that league is disgusting. The original $500 high stakes flock league. There we ended up getting Devontae Adams in the middle of the second after taking Tyreek Hill in the first. But anyway, let me go through and let me find your team to see exactly what we're looking at. So you have Miles Sanders, James Robinson, Melvin Gordon, Tevin Coleman, Malcolm Brown, Sony Michel. Okay, so I'll say, honestly, not that strong, but at receiver, you are loaded with Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Kenny Golladay, Chase Claypool, Jarvis, Russell Gage, and I think receiver matters a lot more in that format. So I think you're adequate at running back, which is kind of what you need to be when you're that strong at receiver. Oh, and you're saying you drafted ETN in that league. Okay, if you drafted ETN in that league, I think you definitely overcame it. Okay, so now let's go through, and after we take Rashad Bateman, you have Jalen Reagor, Traquan Smith, Sterling Shepard going off at the receiver position. I will say we're not completely desperate at receiver from here on out. We're not completely desperate. And it is nice to see these tight ends go off the board because once we take Mike Gesicki, we are going to be done drafting tight ends. Like, we're done drafting tight ends. Switch this back over. Dawson Knox at the 1302. Guys, this is the same team that took Josh Allen in a $250 draft. So if you think that you are better than me at fantasy football, you can come out here and you can hop into these $250 drafts with me. You can hop in a $50 draft. You can hop in whatever you want. Just know there are going to be some people also out here like this. So maybe I want to call this free money. I've been seeing Allen go at the 211. Then all the way down here, seeing Zach Moss go before these running backs. Pretty much just Devin Singletary on the same team, Zach Moss. Just an all-on onslaught of the Buffalo Bills. Dawson Knox, Emmanuel Sanders, Devin Singletary, Gabriel Davis, Zach Moss, Josh Allen in the second round. That is crazy to see in a $250 draft. That is crazy to see. Okay, so do you have Leonard Fournette, Marquez Valdez-Scantling? So I'm assuming we need to go double receiver here. That's my assumption. Now, Scorpion has only drafted 4 receivers as well. He's only taken Tyreek, DK Metcalf, Marvin Jones, and Nelson Aguilar. Interesting. He doubled up on tight end going Hawkinson and Noah Fant, I believe. Yeah, he has Hawkinson and Noah Fant. Sammy Watkins goes to the 1309. Isaac coming out says these $250 drafts are becoming a comedy act. My man, I know that 102 is pretty bad. That 102 is pretty bad. Hoping you're not talking about my team, Isaac. Really hoping you're not. Okay, so now I guess... How bad? No, I can't. I don't think I can do that. I think we just take T.Y. Hilton here. We need another receiver. We're trying to get receivers that are coming in with volume. We're going to take T.Y. Hilton. You're getting T.Y. Hilton at the 1311. Trevor Lawrence does go at the 13-12. Alexander Madison. I would have taken Lawrence if it wasn't for the other quarterbacks at the end of the draft, I think, now becoming draftable. We can't consider Rashad Perriman here. Rashad Perriman definitely falling a lot further than this in most other drafts. Honestly, I think we may reach on a KJ Hamler. Of course, it's going to be seen as a reach. But I think in reality, it's probably a good pick when we want another receiver. Yeah, just over these guys in general. Did I get him in time? Thank God. Oh, my God. I thought we were about to time out again. In one $250 draft we did the other night, I actually ended up timing out and got Adam Troutman, which was disgusting. But yeah, let's go through and let's look at this team. So I'm honestly really happy with our Josh Jacobs pick here because I think our Jacobs pick has guaranteed us enough volume to continue to just slam receiver in these following rounds. So at running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. At quarterback, we have Lamar Jackson. At tight end, we have Tyler Higbee, Mike Gesicki. So I think we're fine at all those positions. And then I think we did a decent job catching up a receiver. We have Amari, Chris Godwin, Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks, Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, T.Y. Hilton, and KJ Hamler. Let me know what y'all think about that. Okay. So Woody says, use that queue. The problem is with using the queue, guys, is I'm live streaming this. There are people in this draft that would love to snipe me, I'd imagine. So it's a lot harder to use that queue. Okay, so Justin says, hey, Mason, where can I find the video with the $500 draft? It's titled on this channel. I spent $1,000 on this fantasy draft because I actually gave away a $500 buy-in to that league on Patreon for the Patreon community, which has been booming lately. Thank you, everybody that has been deciding to join the flock over there on Patreon. Let me see how many people on Patreon we've had. I really only checked this on the live streams. Yeah, past 1080. 1080 people on Patreon. That is ridiculous. Okay, so let's switch this over. Cole Kmet at the 1407. We want to see those tight ends go off the board. Get those tight ends off the board. Jaggy says, is Saquon Barkley injury prone? You have to define injury prone. I think in general, the fantasy football community is way too confident in going out there and thinking that they can predict injuries. I think in most cases, it's a fool's game. I think in most cases, people kind of embarrass themselves when they are trying to predict those injuries. I don't necessarily participate in that game because I know that it's something that makes a lot of people look stupid for good reason, because you're going out there and you're not focusing in on the analysis that needs to be focused in on. You're not necessarily paying attention to the projected volume for certain players. That definitely is going to matter in terms of trying to figure out what they're going to be doing this upcoming season with their roles in their offense. And however, you're focusing in on something that we just have no idea. We have very limited information about. Now, Philip Lindsay at the 1504, really like that pick. So let me switch this back over really quickly. Okay, so from here, I think we can start to look back at running back if we would like. I'm hoping we see some tight ends get drafted. We have two teams before our next pick that only have one tight end on their roster. So possibly we see them go the route of getting an extra tight end going on their team. So now we have one quarterback, 3 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 tight ends, and we have 5 more picks. We have 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Actually, we have 6 more selections because this draft goes until the 20th round. So at running back, this running back situation is ugly to say the least. It is ugly to say the least. I will admit that. Now, Ramondre Stevenson goes at the 1507. Possibly we should have taken Stevenson over KJ Hamler. I will admit that. Derek Carr at the 1509. I'm not squirming to take a quarterback. I mean, we go through, we look at quarterbacks. There are still plenty of guys that we can go with. So here instead, I'm honestly very happy to see him fall. We're going to go with a Randall Cobb at the 1511 as our 9th receiver on this team. Let's see where Holland decides to go. Because on this team, we're going to be drafting 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, Probably 5 or 6 running backs. Just say we go 5 running backs. How many spots do we have left? We could go 11 receivers if we wanted. We could go 11 receivers if we wanted. Not necessarily saying we are going to do that, but I think it's a possibility. Diami Brown goes. So Diami Brown would have been our next pick. Now that Brown is off the board, I do think we need to kind of switch it off. Like if we're going to be looking at a running back here. Jared Cook goes. Tight end we can't look at. Quarterback. A bunch of these guys are the same for me. We're just going to take someone that we know has a role in his offense. But does he have really any real upside? He doesn't. Considering that we have guys that we can confidently rely on each and every week with Barkley, Taylor, Josh Jacobs, we're going to go with the Rashad Penny. Yes, he is a pure handcuff. Yes, we're pretty much just going if anything were to occur to Chris Carson. Rashad Penny does have some upside to have some spike weeks. Maybe that's a bad call. Maybe instead we should have gone with the James White. But Rashad Penny is going to be the pick there. Jaggy coming out with the donation says, what is the chance Deshaun Watson plays? Okay, I'll say if you knew this down to a T, you would be a very profitable player. If you knew exactly what the odds of Deshaun Watson playing, you could make some serious money this season. Now, I would say that if I had to put a number on the odds that the odds Deshaun Watson played this year were maybe 15 to 20%. That would be my bet, 15 to 20%. And I know a lot of people are going to hear 15%. They're going to go, Mason, 15%? There's no way he plays. 15% is a pretty low number. That's a pretty low number, guys. Okay, so Rob Gronkowski at the 1607. Okay, KJ says, just use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Why did I not get the $25? I mean, you get the $25 added to your account literally right away. I've never heard of a problem of someone being a first-time depositor on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. That deposited $10, not getting the $25. Literally, I've never heard of that being a problem. Please go and double-check your account because if you are a first-time depositor, I mean, it took me about 10 seconds for it to load up on. Well, let me know if that's still a problem because I've never heard that being one. Okay, so James White lasts all the way to the 1611. 1610. Chuba Hubbard goes to the 1611. Yeah, guys, real quick, just to let everybody know in the chat, because I know if I was watching somebody on YouTube and I heard them say that you got a draft guide, hundreds of pages, you got rankings, you got $25 added to your account with just a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, no strings attached. I know I would not believe that. So please, guys, help me just show off because obviously I wouldn't be able to say this stuff in a live chat with 600 people here if it wasn't true. So please spam right now in the chat. Just say, I got the draft guide. 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 Just spam that over and over again so I can show people that are just now joining us that are maybe on the fence of supporting the channel and making a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. Show them that it's true. So please spam the chat right now. Spam the chat right now if you got that draft guide. Because I know if I was someone watching a YouTube channel, I wouldn't believe it, to be completely honest. I wouldn't believe it. I'm a very skeptical person. Okay, so Austin Hooper all the way at the 1704. Seeing Austin Hooper go all the way down here, scrolling back up, let me see where I took Mike Gesicki and the running backs that were available there. And if we could have, okay, so we actually took Mike Gesicki here. We would have taken Michael Carter instead. Do we prefer Michael Carter and Austin Hooper or Mike Gesicki, Rashad Penny? That is crazy. Okay, yeah, so we have a bajillion people spamming the chat right now that they got the draft guide. Okay, perfect. Thank you, my dudes, for showing everybody. And guys, if you have yet to get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, please make sure you go out there and do that. Thank you so much for everybody coming out and showing how much y'all like the draft guide, that y'all got it. Thank you. Thank you, my dudes, because I know if I was someone, I wouldn't necessarily believe it. So the fact that we have 600 people out here all spamming, that like probably half of the people in the chat have already used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, already got that draft guide. Thank you, my dudes. Thank you. Okay, so now let's pull this back up and we're going to be back on the clock. I think now this is the range where we look at quarterback. I'm very happy that we decided to go with a running back in the last round because the guys that we'd be looking at right now aren't too appealing. So I Holden took Matt Ryan and Trevor Lawrence. So I think that they could potentially end up going with another guy. So let's bring in Carson Wentz. He does have a different bye week as a Lamar Jackson. We did draft T.Y. Hilton on this team. So yeah, let's bring in Carson Wentz at the 17-11 as our second quarterback. And then from here, we're probably going to get one more running back. And then we're going to get two more receivers. Yeah, one more running back, two more receivers. And I know the running back that I want. I know JN also knows the running back that I want. Derek says, my draft guide was a bunch of nudes. What do you mean? Okay, yeah, guys. Okay, please keep that under wraps. That's on page 57 of the draft guide. I didn't necessarily want that to get out because obviously that's a big time like surprise when you open it up. You're taking away all the shock appeal. But yeah, now we're going to go with Malcolm Brown here, and it's going to be an easy pick as someone that I think does have a role on his offense. Shout out to JN right now. Now we're taking Malcolm Brown in the 18th round, and from here, I think that we can't afford to just get receivers after this. Even though we already have 9 receivers on this team, maybe we go with one more running back. KJ says, I'm sure it's true. I didn't deposit $10. Okay, yeah, guys, you have to deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK to get that $25 added to your account. So thank you for letting me know that because I had never heard of that being a problem whatsoever with promo code FLOCK. I had never heard of that being a problem. Okay, so after we take Malcolm Brown, you have Nico Collins, Alan Lazard going off. So I don't even know what we want to see. Like, what running back would have to fall for us to consider to go with another running back here in the 19th round? I don't even know if there would be another running back that could fall. I mean, Jerick McKinnon maybe would have been someone on that list. Lithium says, where's the draft guide? So all you have to do, my man, is check the description of the video. All you have to do is send me a DM literally anywhere. If you don't have social media, that's completely fine. I have a link in the description video of our free fantasy football group chat where you can just join that group chat and then send me a DM. Say, Mason, listen here, you bum. I use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. All you have to do is send me the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with after you make that $10 deposit, and I will send that to you right away, my dudes. Okay. So we have Jerick McKinnon, Devontae Booker at the 1806, 1807. Okay, Unexpected Savage, pipe down. Guys, let's lower it in the chat. Let's lower it in the chat, okay? We got $250 on the line. Okay, so Deshaun Watson goes to the 1809. Now, this is a team that took Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes. I will say that I have taken Deshaun Watson in some of the Best Ball Mania drafts going, okay, well, even if there's only a 15% chance he comes back, maybe that actually helps us this year. Maybe it helps us make a unique team. The exact opposite of a team that I'm taking Deshaun Watson is when I took Patrick Mahomes. When I'm taking Watson, I want to make sure that we're using... Okay, so yeah, Carlos Hyde now goes. I blame that on y'all. I blame that on y'all for shouting Carlos Hyde in the live chat. But yeah, okay, so I'm actually taking Deshaun Watson on teams that I don't have that elite level quarterback. Like if I missed out on the tier QBs, I'd take like a Ben Roethlisberger and a Deshaun Watson at the very end going, hell, if anything were to occur where all of a sudden we have Deshaun Watson and he is the starting quarterback, we're getting every single spike week of his and we are going to be crushing our league mates. That's when I'll do it. I'm not necessarily taking a Mahomes, then a Baker Mayfield and going, oh, well, let's take Deshaun Watson at the same time. Because in reality, even if he does come back, you're assuming that risk. And at the same time, I mean, is the upside that high? So I am honestly only rostering a Deshaun Watson when we only have 2 quarterbacks on our team. Now, Zach Ertz would have been someone that we actually probably would have taken at the end of the 19th. JG coming out with a donation. Okay, Teresa says there's another one that you like there, Mason. Teresa, real quick. I am wishing you the best. I saw on the news. Now, you know I never know anything that's going on outside of fantasy football. I am a stone cold idiot when it comes to anything going on in real life. But I saw the hurricane in Louisiana. It's supposed to hit tonight. I know you're in Louisiana. I'm wishing you the best. Please stay safe and turn off the live stream. Charge your phone. Make sure everything's okay. But JG coming out with a donation says, how good do you think Kyle Pitts is going to be year 1? So I think that Kyle Pitts year 1, personally, I'm actually going to have him around our tight end 6, tight end 7. A lot of people are willing to draft him over Hawkinson and Mark Andrews. Personally, I am not. given the fact that if he's a top 10 tight end at all, he already puts up one of the best rookie tight end seasons of all time. So I am projecting him to be one of the best rookie tight ends of all time. But at the same time, I mean, it's hard to make that type of investment. So I am going to be going out there and fading. And oh my God, C. Swiss out here taking Chad Henne at the 1904 as their fourth quarterback on a team where they took Mahomes. I think that's a punt. That's a punt. We just got another punt in a $250 draft. Okay, so let me check. Jay-Z Rucker here has drafted very few running backs. They took Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, and DeAndre Swift, and that's it. And they're an experienced drafter. I don't know if we can get behind that. That is very thin. That is very thin. Okay, Teresa said there was... Okay, Jay-Z Rucker takes our guy, Justice Hill. I thought we were going to get Justice Hill. I thought we were getting Justice Hill in the last round. Okay, so Teresa says there was another running back that we like. I don't necessarily see one. I do see a receiver that we like. And if there's going to be anybody that wins me an absurd amount of money, I want it to be someone that I had psychology at the University of Texas with. So let's take Colin Johnson as our 10th receiver on this team. Honestly, I don't think we're going to be looking to get another running back. I think at 5 running backs, we're going to be fine. Maybe we look to take another tight end, another quarterback. Tight end, Donald Parham, O.J. Howard, Hayden Hurst. Honestly, I think that maybe it would be a better play. Just go with Hunter Renfrow. No, we're going to go with someone with the elite speed. We're going to go with the Tutu Atwell. A big thing with Tutu Atwell, he's very rarely going to be drafted in these leagues. So if he has just a random spike week where he catches 2 long balls for 2 touchdowns during that tournament, I think that Tutu Atwell could make us very different than the other Bills. Yeah, we're going to go with a Tutu Atwell there. Could be a punt. Definitely could be a punt. Okay, so Christopher says, if Mahomes goes down, Chad is going to have some serious weapons, and I'll be the only person with him. I understand, but also if Mahomes goes down, you miss out on your 4th round selection. You miss out on your 4th, so you're already kind of assuming the role that you're just going to be laying down and getting beaten to a pulp and probably losing the draft anyway. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily playing in a backup plan if you miss out on Mahomes. Richard coming out with a donation. Thank you so much, my dude. I truly appreciate it. I do not see a message out from you. So actually you're saying, where do you find the league rules for Underdog? Literally when you go to enter a contest, I mean, or you can just go online. Like after this live draft, let me scroll up to the top real quick to show everybody just now coming into the stream how this $250 draft went, where we selected at the 111. So let's go through. Let me show everybody this entire draft. Yeah. So let me know what y'all think of that. Let me know if y'all have any opinions. Mac Jones, Teddy Bridgewater going here. Honestly, maybe Mac Jones would have just been a better pick. It is what it is, though. Okay, Richard says, it didn't pick up my message. I just wanted to say your honesty is awesome. No, my man, thank you so much just for coming out. And I kind of have to be honest. I mean, I can't be an idiot acting like I'm Albert Einstein out here, obviously. And let's switch this over. And I'm going to show y'all really easy. If you want to find any of the rules on Underdog Fantasy, literally this is all you have to do. Just come over here. Search Underdog Fantasy Rules. Apparently I can't type. Rules and scoring. Allow. And then you have any of the rules that you would ever want to see for Underdog Fantasy. All you have to do is look up Underdog rules and it's the top result. But let me go through and let's get another draft going. So we did not get 600 likes in the live stream. So we're not going to get another $250 draft going. I can't just continue to do $250 drafts, my dudes. I really wish that I could, but that's not the reality that we live in. So however, let's just get another $10 draft going so we can get some people out in the live chat right now in this league. If obviously not everybody can join a $250 league, and that's completely understandable. So let me grab a link to this $10 draft. $10 is a great price point because I don't know if you've heard, but when you actually make a $10 deposit to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, they add $25 to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, and you get to hop into a draft with us in one of these live streams. So let me send this out real quick, and then right after that, we will answer N's question. So he just sent that private message out there in the live chat for the private draft. I'm sure that this is going to fill in literally 30 seconds. And in says, got a 14-team half PPR draft coming up. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex. Any draft advice? Okay, so here I'll say if it's a 14-team league where you can start up to 4 receivers, I'm honestly not going to be punting the receiver position. I actually think it would be nice to go through and try to load up on some elite players in that range. A position that I am going to be punting, however, is I'm not going to care about tight end whatsoever there. Tight end, we can straight up punt. I'm always telling people if they're playing in a 10-man or if they're playing in an 8-man league, you want an elite tight end. But the further you get away from that, the more teams that you increase the league size in. I just think that, hey, we're fine getting an Austin Hooper at the very end. And Austin Hooper is going to be very similar to someone that's possibly going to go in like the 7th round. Yeah, guys, all you have to do is you want to find any rules on Underdog Fantasies, look up online Underdog Fantasy rules, and everything will be there, the first result. I always have to go there because I know there are some states that Underdog Fantasy is not allowed to be in right now. And that's the same thing with a lot of sports betting, a lot of DFS sites. So I always have to go through and figure out what sites those are and just look up Underdog rules. Jared says, I tried depositing money today, but I have to be approved because I am from Canada. Yeah, guys, a lot of people have to be approved from Canada. And literally what I have heard from the people in the flock that have joined Underdog Fantasy from Canada is if you shoot a message to customer support, it's like that. If you shoot them, say, hey, I'm trying to deposit $10 with promo code flock, they let you like that. I mean, they approve you very quickly. Okay, so we have Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey. I do have Alvin Kamara as our 103 with Jameis Winston starting, as well as it sounds like the coaching staff is not a massive fan currently of Latavius Murray. So I do think you need to be bumping up in Alvin Kamara. Now, Derrick Henry goes, so... Oh, my God. We're just going to do it. I know it's the right call. I hate how our teams look whenever we draft this way, though. We're going to go Kelsey at the 107. I hate how our teams look when we do it, but I know mathematically speaking, usually it's the correct call to go with Travis Kelsey there. But if we go through, okay, there's some pretty funny names here. Okay, so we got some people on the live chat. We got some regulars out here. We got Rummy Rams. We have Derek, Daddy Rabbit, Fallon, Clutch Cal, Caden. I believe this is Caden. San Diego's finest. I'm almost certain that's Caden. And then we also have some new people out in the draft. Devo Station, this is a name that I recognize. I don't know if this was from a couple months back in a dynasty draft or something. I feel like I haven't seen the name Devo Station in a while, though. DSR, they were recently in a draft with us. Cool Asian, I believe this is their first time hopping in a draft with us. Overdraft Punk, I think they've been out in one before. And Mason's Basement Secret, I think they've been in one before as well. I don't know how they got access to a phone, though. I'm going to have to probably go down to the bottom floor after this live stream and figure out how that person down there ended up getting access to the internet. So, yeah, I will have to sort this out later on tonight, but it is what it is. And let's pull this back up, try to figure out where we're going to go after a Travis Kelsey in the first round. So, Calvin really goes to the 203. Honestly, kind of hoping that we just get a Nick Chubb fall into us. As crazy as it sounds. I mean, Nick Chubb was someone I used to never consider drafting, but now all of a sudden, in the middle of the second, I'm going to just be a happy camper and I'm going to be drafting him. Caden says he always gets horrible picks in the flock drafts. Okay, so you ended up getting what? The 110 here? So Joe Mixon goes, yeah, I guess we get Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, someone that we've said this a million times before. Hated drafting him in the first round. Hated drafting him in the first round. Said he was one of the most overrated players in the first. Middle of the second, I'm fine with it. Wahaj says, Mason, that's a really great memory. I've done one more draft. Damn. Yeah, guys, I literally, trust me, if I see your name in the live chat, or if you've like ever made a donation to the channel, or if you've hopped in a draft with us, like I have something wrong with me, like with my memory. That's why I can go through and I can like list off any fantasy football statistic that's like the most random statistic you've ever heard. I just have, it's the weirdest thing ever. Like I'll meet someone 20 times in a row and I will have no idea where they are if I meet them face to face. But when it comes to the Fantasy Flock Network, my brain is the size of an elephant. I'll remember anything. Okay, so now we have Darren Waller at the 209, Deacon Metcalf at the 208. So Derek, punting running back. I don't want to say straight up punting running back. I mean, once you have Najee Harris, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon going off the board, it's like, do we want Darren Waller or Clyde Edwards-Helaire here? Probably want Darren Waller. A.J. Brown goes at the 211. Guys, with the Najee Harris love, I understand Najee Harris is going to get an insane amount of volume this upcoming season. Trust me, I get it. But at the same time, Najee Harris is going to be playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. And he's going to be playing in an offense where the quarterback is very handicapped, where I think it's going to be hard for them to kind of avoid stacked boxes if they're going to want to continue to run the ball. So I'm more worried about Najee Harris than most people are. Now, I'm not saying I'm fading Najee Harris in the middle of the second round. I think at the 207, it's a completely fine pick. But I am not going to be taking Najee Harris over Nick Chubb. I'm not going to be taking Najee Harris over Joe Mixon. Okay, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes to the 302. Obviously, we were very happy to see George Kittle going before our pick at the 306. Didn't necessarily want to have to be in a spot where we had to consider taking the combination of Travis Kelce and George Kittle. Okay, so let's switch this back over. So Keenan Allen goes at the 304. What's this little piece of news on Terry McLaurin? Unlikely to play Saturday, so literally nothing. Okay, Amari Cooper goes to the 306. We're just taking a wide receiver here, obviously. I mean, we haven't taken a wide receiver so far. We're not taking Dobbins because Dobbins is injury. And DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Chris Carson, this would be too much of a reach. We're going with the receiver. We're going to preferably go with Robert Woods. Robert Woods goes. So given the fact that, I mean, we kind of have to take him in some spots, I think it's ridiculous when in ADP he's going ahead of Allen Robinson. But if we can get him at the 307 behind all these other receivers, yes, I prefer Amari. Yes, I prefer Robert Woods. Yes, I prefer Keenan Allen. Yes, I prefer Allen Robinson. So in a multitude of leagues, I think Terry McLaurin's being way overdrafted. But if he's going after these guys, I'm kind of fine with him. I also have Chris Godwin ranked ahead of Terry McLaurin. But a big thing is when I'm going to be doing 250 of these drafts, I have to understand that Chris Godwin's going to be available a decent amount in the 4th round. And Terry McLaurin is never going to be. Like if I pull up my exposures right now, where I've done closing in on 150 drafts so far. Like if I pull this up, let me look at receiver Chris Godwin. I've drafted in 17.8% of leagues, and I have 625 entry fees loaded onto Chris Godwin. Whereas with a Terry McLaurin, I've drafted in 6.7% of leagues, and I have $300 in entry fees loaded onto him. So I'm over double my investment into Chris Godwin than I am with Terry McLaurin. And we also know that we can continue to double that investment on a Chris Godwin compared to Terry McLaurin by just drafting Godwin at the 3-4 turn instead of having to reach on him in the middle of the 3rd. Ripple says, get a big dog going for the content. Ripple, my man, if you want to hit me up with $250 to get another big dog draft going, I would be ecstatic to get that going, my dudes. And if y'all want me to just continue to get big dog drafts going, the best way that y'all can see more big dog drafts on this channel is use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Get $25 added to your account with a $10 deposit. Get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Get our 2021 Fantasy Football Rankings. Hop out in a draft with us, and we get James Robinson going here. Robinson would have been someone that we would have considered, and my God, I have no idea what we just did. Dear Lord. What did we just do? Okay, I have no idea what we just did, my dudes. Oh my God. I have no idea what just happened to the live stream. Okay, let's switch this back over, and we're going to take Patrick Mahomes here at the 406. Yeah, we're going to. I don't love it. I think we need to get used to trying to make some different builds, though. And if we're ever going to be taking Mahomes, it makes a lot of sense to do so on the team where we got Kelce in the 1st. So far this team, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and tight end. At running back, we have Nick Chubb. At receiver, we have Terry McLaurin. Guys, Yeah, so we did a $250 draft last night. We're going to do another $250 draft. I mean, we already did another $250 draft tonight. Maybe we'll get another one going tomorrow night. But I just can't be doing $250 draft, 250, 250, 250, 250 over and over and over again. Okay. So Adam Thielen goes to the 408s. So let's switch this back over. Luke says you rarely take Mahomes in these. Yeah, I just think that when we're taking Mahomes over Julio, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, it puts us in a very difficult spot for a receiver later on. Now, I have to make a rule for ourselves. We are not drafting another quarterback or another tight end, regardless of the value. I don't care if Mark Andrews falls to the 10th round. We are not drafting another quarterback or tight end until we get to at least the 14th. Until we at least get to the 14th. We are only running backs and receivers from here on out. Okay, Sir Dilly says, on the clock for the Patreon Dynasty 20 League. My man, thank you so much for letting me know we were on the clock for that. Let me pull it up. And I'm not going to show that on live stream, but definitely need to make sure that we're getting a draft pick in there. We auto-drafted a couple days ago, which was, of course, embarrassing. We had to get James White on that team, which was disgusting. But if we pull this back up, let's just look at the projected points. Scroll that down. Yeah, I have no idea who we're going with. Actually, when in doubt, in a tight end premium dynasty startup, and if you're closing in on round 30, go Drew Sample. Go Drew Sample. We're just going to take him there. But now we have the continued wide receiver run. We have Jerry Jeudy going at the 502. So I think we desperately need receiver in this format. Gus Edwards at the 503 ahead of Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs goes to the 504. Derek gets his first running back in here. And this is one of my most, I swear to God, if you look at all my team builds, this is going to be the most popular team build that you see. Me going and getting 3 elite receivers, getting an elite tight end, and getting Josh Jacobs as our running back 1. I mean, I've done that in so many different teams. Okay. Now, Darrell Henderson at the 505. Let's switch this over. We cannot look quarterback. We cannot look tight end. We are running back receiver from here on out. And considering the fact that we are desperate for a receiver, they're getting soaked up in this format. We're just going to go with an Odell Beckham Jr. here in the 5th round. Yes, it's not pretty. Yes, it's not exciting. But I think we kind of have to do it, to be honest. I think we have to do it. Okay, so afterwards, we have those elite quarterbacks going off. We have Allen, Kyler, Lamar. We're hoping to see those elite quarterbacks go off. Honestly, hoping that we see T.J. Hawkinson go off as well, considering the fact that we have Kelsey, we have Mahomes on this team. Robbie Anderson goes to the 511. Let me know what y'all think of that Gus Edwards selection. Let me know if y'all think Gus Edwards at the 503 is a little rich here before we have any news on the situation with J.K. Dobbins. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, he could be out 4 weeks. He could be out for the year. I just think that may be a little rich. A little rich. Okay, Deebo Samuel at the 512. Deebo is someone consistently rising in these drafts. Kenny Golladay goes to the 601. Thank God we took a receiver with Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, this room is clearly receiver heavy. Only having Terry McLaurin on this team. We were put in a pretty difficult spot. Now, I would be fine getting a running back in the middle of the 6th once we get Odell, once we get someone that we can provide us some spike weeks there. Corey Davis at the 602. Tyler Boyd at the 603. Let's switch this back. Like I said, guys, when we have Mahomes, when we have Travis Kelsey, I'm not going to be drafting another quarterback or tight end anytime soon. Now, there are a decent amount of running backs that we can be looking at here. We're possibly going to end up going RB. Mike Davis goes to the 604. That's not the running back that we wanted. So, yeah, we're going to either go with Javonte Williams or Kareem Hunt, whoever falls to us here. Laviska Shenault goes. So, we're going to go with a Javonte Williams as our running back 2 on this team. And I'm very excited about this draft. Okay, so we have Antonio Brown at the 607. Dak Prescott at the 608. Kareem Hunt at the 609. This is fantastic. I mean, Derek, I swear to God, I'm not just saying this to be a kiss ass. I mean, if you go through and if you pull up a lot of my own teams, I mean, you're going to see this is exactly how they look. Adams, Waller, Keenan, Higgins, Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt. I mean, if anything were to occur to Nick Chubb, this is a team that is going to crush souls. Nobody's going to be able to compete against it. Okay, so Party Till She's Hot says, JK is out for the season. Cut shenanigans. No cap. Okay, so if J.K. Dobbins is out for the year, I'll say, still, do we want to be taking Gus Edwards over Josh Jacobs? Definitely in that same tier for me. I think that where did Miles Sanders go in this draft? Miles Sanders went at the 412. I think Gus Edwards is in the same tier as Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs. I don't necessarily know how much higher than that he rises, even if J.K. Dobbins is out for the year. Now, J.G. comes out with a donation, says, which rookie wide receiver will have the best season? Yeah, you have to make the bet that's going to be Jamar Chase. The passing volume is going to be there in the offense. There are so many targets being available with A.J. Green leaving to Arizona. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, we are lower than consensus on Jamar Chase for a very long time. But, yeah, Jamar Chase is still going to be the best bet to be the best rookie wide receiver this year. And, oh, dear God. Dear Lordy. Hawkinson and Kyle Pitts going in the 7th round. I have never seen either tight end fall this far. And we have done almost 150 drafts so far this year. That is ridiculous value. That is ridiculous value. I mean, if they would have fallen, we honestly maybe would have had to go out there and take them, to be honest. Now, we are only going running back receiver from here on out. Chase Edmonds goes to the 705. Y'all know Chase Edmonds would have been someone that we were considering at the 707. We desperately need receiver value in here, though. We're going to be going with 6 running backs and 8 receivers on this build. I can already see how it's shaking out when we have the elite quarterback, when we have the elite tight end. So Juju goes here. Yeah, we're going to go Courtland Sutton, someone I've drafted in very few leagues. I mean, Sutton's been someone that we've been fading all season now. He's fallen considerably in his price. Like, if we go out and we look at where Courtland Sutton's being drafted now compared to where he was about a month ago, it's really funny to see that fall that Courtland Sutton's had. If I pull up right now my exposures on Courtland Sutton, however, you're going to see that we have him in very few leagues. Very similar to Terry McLaurin. I don't have these players in many leagues, but the problem is we need to go with the receiver here. He's going to be the best guy available. So if I actually pull up to see how many leagues I have Courtland Sutton in, yeah, I have Courtland Sutton in about 7% of fantasy drafts. In very few leagues. Okay. So now we have Will Fuller, someone that I do have in a ton. Myles Gaskin goes to the 710. Myles Gaskin goes to the... There's been a lot of value lately. There's been a lot of value in these drafts. I mean, I feel like the closer we get to the season, the more variety that we are actually getting here. Philip says Courtland Sutton's a wide receiver 1. Sutton ain't a wide receiver 1, my man. Courtland Sutton's best season ever in fantasy, he was a mid wide receiver 3. He was like the wide receiver 28 on a per game basis. Zach says, Mason, do you ever draft a player based on having higher trade value than other players? Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's how you play dynasty fantasy football, my man. You have to consider the trade value going into players. You can't just draft purely based on what you were thinking. You have to also consider what you can do in terms of structuring the team for trades. Okay, so now if we go through, show off the draft board for anybody just now coming into this draft. Guys, if you're just now coming into the stream, make sure you go down there. Make sure you are dropping a like. I mean, we are live streaming a Real Money Fantasy Football drafts every single night as well. So make sure you go down there. Subscribe to the channel while you are at it. And now we have Jarvis Landry, DJ Chark. Okay, so we had a run on wide receivers. If we were pulling this up, yeah, we can't consider going Dobbins here. Dobbins is not in play. But to be honest, neither is Michael Thomas. Neither is Raheem Mostert. We're going to have to reach on a receiver. We're going to go Curtis Samuel here. We're just looking at receivers that are going to be running routes, getting targets. It does suck that we don't get a Jalen Waddle, a DJ Chark, or Jarvis Landry falling to us. I mean, I feel like we are going down a tier when we do take Curtis Samuel there. But when we have Mahomes, when we have Travis Kelce, we simply can't be drafting another. We can't be drafting another quarterback or tight end. Now we have BVA says, do you think drafting Kelce at 7 in a PPR league is a reach? No, I just drafted Travis Kelce at 7 in this draft right now. No, I don't think that's a reach. It definitely depends on if you're playing in a league where, I mean, if you can't start multiple flex spots, then I actually do prefer to go with some of the other running backs, wide receivers there, because that's going to devalue the tight end position. But if you're playing in a league where you only start one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex, then I'm completely fine with Kelce there. Okay. So then JG says, can Zach Wilson be a sneaky high point quarterback? Zach Wilson, the problem is you're not necessarily expecting him to have the same elite rushing upside that either Trey Lance or Justin Fields possesses. So I can't necessarily get behind that kind of thought process with a Zach Wilson, to be honest. Okay, so we have Ronald Jones going at the 8-12. So if I was going to go running back there, I was honestly just going to lock in A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon was a great value, but I think that we honestly kind of need to bring in some more receivers. I want to go receiver here. Even though, I mean, I guess the running back landscape is very thin at the moment. You have Tyler Higbee at the 901. Let's switch this back over. So the problem is, like, even if Logan Thomas were to fall to us, we can't take Logan Thomas. I think Dobbins would have to fall to the double-digit rounds for us to start to consider him. If it was a league where we had access to the waiver wire, then of course, I'm taking Dobbins here and just kind of seeing what happens. But when we could essentially be just drafting a dead spot on our roster, we can't be taking Dobbins here. Michael Thomas goes to the 905. Cool Asian has taken Herbert, Henry, Harris, Woods, Julio, Brown, Juju, Mark Andrews. I really like this team. I really like this team so far. He goes Raheem Mostert. Obviously, we weren't wanting to draft Raheem Mostert. We're probably going to draft someone that we have taken a ton. We're just going to draft Hollywood Brown here. We're just going to bring in another receiver with some random spike week potential. And that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for with our 3 starting wide receiver slots, as well as that flex. So let's bring in Hollywood Brown at the 907. And guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you go down there, subscribe, hit that bell next to the subscribe button as well, because we are live streaming a real money fantasy football drafts every single night. So make sure you hit that bell. That way you know when we're live. You can come out and you can hang out with us in a live stream. Thomas goes to the 909. I'm assuming that we're going to have a running back that we probably want making it back to us in the 10th round. And honestly, now that we have really just embraced the fact that when we take a Mahomes and a Kelce early, we're only running back and receiver from there, I kind of like how this team is shaking out. Kelce, Mahomes having the best tight end and the best quarterback in fantasy, then having Chubb, Javonte at running back. I don't think that we are that bad at running back, to be honest. McLaurin, Odell, Sutton, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown. If we add another receiver to this room, I think just given the random spike weeks that we could see with those players, we're in a decent spot there as well. So honestly, I kind of like how we have constructed this team. I think the problem when we were taking a Mahomes or when we were taking Kelce previously is we were getting suckered into going with a Logan Thomas in the 9th round. And then it threw off the entire team, where now I think this is a much better spot. And yeah, not a single running back goes off the board by the time we're going to be back up on the clock in the 10th. So let me switch this back over. So running back and receiver from here. Just running back and receiver. Melvin Gordon goes to the 1004. Michael Carter falling a considerable amount. Tony Pollard at the 10.05. How bad would it be here if I just take Michael Carter? The problem is if we take Carter, this is already a team that we have Javonte Williams. I want to take Carter when we're looking for the production at the end of the season. And with Javonte, we're kind of looking, we're trying to look for a running back to pair with him that's going to give us production at the beginning of the year. So instead, I actually think that we go with the James Conner when we take Javonte Williams. Like if we would have gone with Kareem Hunt instead of Javonte, there I actually think we go with Michael Carter. But given the construction of this team, I think that James Conner is actually going to be the play. Okay, so then you have Robert Tonyan at the 10.08. We want to see these quarterbacks. We want to see these tight ends go off the board. The last thing we need is to see more teams getting that value at tight end like they got a Hawkinson and a Kyle Pitts at the 7.02 and the 7.03. Now, J.K. Dobbins finally goes off to Derek at the 10.09. Let's check out Derek's team so far, where he has Adams, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins at receiver. At tight end, he has Darren Waller. And then from here, he has slammed running back to a point where I honestly may not even get that excited about it. Jacobs, Hunt, Dillon, Moss, Dobbins. I think when you take these 5 guys, I'm probably done at running back. He is the elite quarterback in there as well at Aaron Rodgers with the 7.04 to stack with Devontae Adams. So I'm assuming from here on out, we're probably going to see a lot of receivers going to Derek's team. At least I'd imagine we're seeing a lot of receivers. Then Brian Edwards at the 10.12. No fan at the 10-11. Come on. I mean, you see Tyler Higbee almost go 2 rounds before Noah Fant. Noah Fant should not be falling this far. Sony Michel goes to the 11.02. Michel would have been someone we were considering in the mid-11th here. Let's switch this back around. Remember, running back and receiver only. Maybe we actually get... There are going to be 2 running backs that I'd be willing to take here. Matthew Stafford goes to the 11.03. Thank God. Get Burrow, get Fields, get them off the board. Michael coming in with the donation. Thank you, my man. You're saying, in a 12-team PPR Superflex, what is the ADP of a quarterback 1 and 2? So in a redraft league, I'd say you're probably going to expect Mahomes to go at about the 102, 103, and I'd imagine that you're going to see the second best quarterback go off probably about the 105, 106, to be honest. I don't have exact ADP data available to show you. That's just my experience in those leagues. Now, Kenyon Drake goes. How bad here is it to take Michael Carter? We're just going to take Michael Carter. It is what it is. Michael Carter is someone that we were a lot lower on compared to consensus in Dynasty Fantasy Football. But let's just take him at the 11.07. Devin Singletary goes to the 11.08. Like, I don't necessarily love having him on the same team as Javonte Williams, but I think at some point we're going to have to end up taking him. Teddy says, had my big draft yesterday and it went so well. Thanks for all the help. No, my man. Thank you for always coming out, hanging out with us in the live chat. I'm really happy to hear that your big money draft went well yesterday. Okay, Irv Smith at the 11.10. Nelson Aguilar at the 11.09. Let me know how bad that Michael Carter selection was, my dudes. Keep in mind, I've been someone that has been out on Michael Carter compared to consensus for a while now. But I think at some point, we honestly have to look at him and go, okay, well, maybe this is an intriguing player if we're going to get him at the 11.07. Mike Gesicki at the 11.11. Thank God. Get these tight ends off. Cole Beasley at the 11.02. Had a big game today with Josh Allen. Gabriel Davis at the 12.02. Gerald Everett. So Gabriel Davis would have been someone that we were looking to have in the middle of this round. Switch this back over. Let's switch this back over. Insane Epic says you had to draft Carter there. That's kind of my thought process. Now, another thing that I could get in trouble with is like when we're seeing Joe Burrow available, it's so hard for me to pass on Burrow. It's so hard for me to pass on Burrow, but I think we have to. I honestly think we may have to pass on Burrow. Like, I don't know if we have an option. Now, Rager goes. We're going to go with the Leonard Fournette. Hopefully, he's someone that can get touches at the beginning of the season, and we can wait on using a Michael Carter, wait on using a Javonte Williams. So now after this, we definitely need to be addressing the receiver position after we get Leonard Fournette in the 12th round. I mean, we've gone 3 running backs in a row here. We did get a decent amount of receivers going: Terry McLaurin, Odell Beckham Jr., Cortland Sutton, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown. And we are going to be able to draft 8 receivers in this team. I don't think we're done drafting running backs after a Leonard Fournette. I just think that we're probably done for quite a while. AJ says Burrow could be great for trade capital. This is a best ball league, so you cannot trade in this best ball format. You cannot trade. That's how I'm going to be able to do like 250 drafts on here. On Underdog Fantasy, there are no waivers. There are no trading. There are no start-sit decisions. Your automatic best starting lineup gets submitted for you at the end of each week based on the previous week's performance. That's honestly what I love about this format, and that we can get a ton of real money fantasy drafts going, and there's no time commitment in the beginning. I mean, during the season. And of course, you're not wanting to make this the exclusive way that you play fantasy football. Big thing about fantasy football is going out there and submitting your starting lineup every week, doing waivers, working trades, but you can only do that in so many leagues. You can only go out there and have the leagues that you really care about, that you really want to focus in on. That's why I really like using Best Ball as a tool to go out there and become a better drafter, to be honest. So yeah, I want to continue to go in and get as many of these drafts done, but you can't necessarily be looking at players as trade pieces. Okay, so T.Y. Hilton at the 12-12, Traquan Smith at the 13-01. And guys, real quick, let me remind everyone. So not only with a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy are you getting $25 added to your account, our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, our rankings and tiers that are going to be updated all the way to the start of the season. But to go along with all of this, my dudes, if we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, with all those incentives, it should be very easy to do. We are going to be able to fly people to Tampa, Florida. Underdog is going to pay for it. Underdog is going to pay for it to go to Tampa, Florida, to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. Of course, we would love to see that happening. So please make sure y'all are using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You can find the link in the description of the video. You can find the link in the live chat right now. And guys, literally, if I pull up the YouTube channel, look at this. You can literally see that we have had 3 videos today. 3 videos just today go over 10,000 views. If we all just right now use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, if you have not already, we are going to hit that mark and we're going to be able to fly people to Tampa, Florida. And that's what I really want. I want to be able to bring y'all to the Flock meetup. But now we actually may go in the other running back. No, let's just take Tyra. We have to go with the receiver that's going to get usage in the receiving. I mean, get a lot of routes run. We have to go Tyra Williams. It's a reach. But given the format, we kind of have to go with the receiver there. I don't think we have an option. And it sucks to see Hamler, Amaro St. Brown, this Fournette selection was very bad. That was a very bad pick of Leonard Fournette. We could have waited on a running back that we liked in the 13th round. We just simply couldn't have gone running back in that round after we take James Conner, Michael Carter, Leonard Fournette, and we desperately need receivers. So hate having to go with the Tyrell Williams. We don't have any other options, though. Okay, so Rashad Bateman goes at the 13-10. We actually took him, I believe, at the 12-02 in the last draft. Malcolm Brown goes at the 13-11. So let's hide the camera real quick. Let's scroll up. So anybody just now coming into the live stream can check out what the beginning of the draft looked like. We ended up drafting from the 107. Our team was the Travis Kelce team. Let's scroll back down so everybody can see the entire board. And yeah, this is about to get ugly. This is about to get real ugly. Caden says, when's the Flock 21 Dynasty League announcement? I don't know, my man. It's going to be soon. It's going to be soon because obviously the season's coming up. I want to get that Dynasty draft done by the time the season is here. So it'll be soon. It'll be soon. We'll get another Dynasty Patreon league going, my dudes. This is the furthest I've ever seen Justin Fields fall. This is about 40 picks behind his ADP. Yeah, Justin Fields finally goes. That is crazy value on Justin Fields. I think that we actually probably need to be taking a running back here, to be honest. We're probably going to go running back and then actually, I guess now this is the range where we can start to look quarterback. We can start to look tight end. Does it make sense just to get Lawrence? No, we can't. We're getting a bum quarterback. We're gonna go Paris Campbell though, because we need another receiver. We need another receiver in here. Let's get Paris Campbell. And also, if we want to get Carson Wentz later on at the very end of the draft, we can do that. So let's get Curtis Samuel coming in. If we go through, we show off this team so far. I mean, this has just been a tough spot over the last few rounds. If we scroll up, maybe a play that we could have gone with is instead of, I don't even know what we could have done differently. Instead of going with Curtis Samuel, possibly go with A.J. Dillon. And then instead of going with the James Conner, we could get Brian. No, I think we played that exactly how we would want. I think we played it exactly how we would like. It's just going with the Kelsey, going with the Mahomes. I think it's so hard to pull off a good draft. It's so hard to pull off a balanced good draft. Anthony Man says, are you going to do Dynasty on Underdog? No, Underdog sadly does not do Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're going to have to do Dynasty on Sleeper. Okay, so Sammy Watkins at the 1407, Christian Kirk, Damian Williams. Damian Williams definitely falling lately. Okay, JG says, can you briefly explain the range of outcomes concept? Okay, yeah, of course. So essentially when you're looking at like a projection for a certain player in fantasy football, that's going to be a median projection because obviously we have to understand, like when we go through and say we draft someone like a Javonte Williams, right? So Javonte Williams, we can sit here and we can go, okay, we like the bet in the middle of the 6th round because there are going to be just a couple different ways that this can go. And keep in mind, like fantasy football, at least the way I play it, is mainly driven by numbers. So if you're just talking about the range of outcomes, we're taking a Javonte Williams there because we go, okay, well, with how this story can play out a multitude of different ways. Story A is Javonte comes in, he takes that starting job away from Melvin Gordon very early on, and he actually runs away with it as a 3-down bell cow running back. And in that story, what is he worth in fantasy football? What does the ceiling look like for Javonte Williams? Whereas what's the downside? The downside is maybe Melvin Gordon starts off very hot this upcoming season, and instead Javonte Williams isn't getting that role until about week 10, week 11, week 12, and all of a sudden that's probably a wasted pick. So you have to understand that there's a relative floor and a ceiling for every player. So, of course, the range of outcomes here with the Javonte Williams, when you're taking a rookie, when we haven't had that much data to look at, the range of outcomes is going to be a little bit higher. So, yes, you're going to be taking on a lower floor with the Javonte Williams, but because you're taking on that lower floor, you're most likely going to get a much higher ceiling compared to someone like a Mike Davis in the same range. So I hope that's a decent job of explaining about a range of outcomes. It's essentially looking at anything that could happen for that player this upcoming season in terms of looking at their floor, looking at their ceiling, and everything in between, and trying to figure out what the price point is you're going to be willing to pay for something like that. Okay. So there's so many quarterbacks and so many tight ends available still. I think we just continue to go receiver. We continue to go running back. And actually, no, we're not going to. So let's just take Gronk, I guess. Get Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce on this team. It is what it is. I mean, quarterback, you can go so many different ways. Running back, tight end, I don't necessarily think that any given player stands out at either position. So we're going to go Gronk there at the 1507. Miles says, Mason, can you please show the full draft board? Yes, sir. Let me go through, show the full draft board for anybody just now coming into the stream. And if you are just now coming into the stream, please make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much, my dudes. Make sure you're dropping that like. We are live streaming a real money fantasy football drafts every single night. So make sure you subscribe as well and hit the bell next to the subscribe button. So let's scroll down a little bit more. Okay, Ben says, Mason, are you not concerned about Randall Cobb for Davante Adams? Because Aaron Rodgers loves Randall Cobb and he trusts Randall Cobb. My dudes, I promise you, Aaron Rodgers has a much stronger connection on the football field with Davante Adams. I promise you that. He hasn't played with Randall Cobb since like 2018. I can look that up to just be sure, but I believe 2019 was the Cowboys, 2020 was the Texans. And he's played with Davante Adams the past 2 years. He's played with Davante Adams every year since 2014. Yeah, Randall Cobb, pull up his stats. Yeah, the last time Randall Cobb had 100 targets in fantasy, had 100 targets on a season, was 2015. The last time Randall Cobb had 100 targets or 70 receptions was 2015. Not worried about him now all of a sudden at 31 years old, coming in and taking something away from Davante Adams. Not worried in the slightest. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. Now we're back up on the clock. So honestly, I think that we can continue to avoid QB. We can go with the quarterback if we want. Instead, I think we just take a David Johnson. We just get our last guy coming in. Y'all know I've very rarely drafted David Johnson, but I think getting him in the 16th round is going to be fine. Now, we're going to be drafting most likely one more receiver and one more quarterback, and that's it. Yeah, so we're going to get one more receiver, one more quarterback. I'm going to go through, show the entire draft board. Okay, so Anthony Firks, this is so embarrassing. I've had 2 bad calls now at tight end. Both Dallas Goedert and Anthony Firkser was someone that I was drafting consistently. Dallas Goedert, I was drafting in the 9th round consistently, and now you're seeing him sometimes fall to the 11th. Firkser was someone, I know I can't say his name right. Firkser, I don't know what it is. I was drafting him in the 13th, though, and now he's consistently falling to the 16th based on how bad the preseason has been for him, based on how it looks like he's not going to be getting used on that many downs for Tennessee. So, yeah, we've had some pretty bad calls with those tight ends so far this year. And hopefully our guys in Austin Hooper and Cole Kmet, hopefully they come through. Hopefully they come through because we need them. Okay. So Jameis Winston goes at the 16-10. Darrington Evans at the 16-12. I'm assuming Rummy Rams is taking a quarterback here. So big thing is when we're drafting with our quarterback too, I just think we simply don't care whatsoever who it is. I just don't care at all when we take a Patrick Mahomes. Okay, Quez Watkins at the 1701. Antherman says, do you think Dynasty is fun? Because I was thinking of doing it this year. Dynasty fantasy football, in my opinion, is by far and away the best way that you can play fantasy football. And it's not even close. I love Dynasty fantasy football. So Antherman passing on quarterback in the 17th round. Let's go through and let's check it out. Rummy Rams passing on quarterback. He has Joe Burrow in the 12th. And that is it. So that is bold to rely on Burrow. He has a Jamar Chase stack as well. Intriguing. I'll say that is ridiculous value with the Burrow, but I would probably have taken a quarterback in the 17th. I would have probably taken a quarterback. Now Zach Ertz goes to the 1704. So let's pull this up, and we are probably, let me see who Cool Asian has. He has Herbert and Tannehill. So yeah, he's not taking another quarterback. We're going to get Ryan Fitzmagic coming in to stack with Terry McLaurin in the 17th round. Best case scenario. At least, unless Cool Asian really wants to snipe us, but I doubt he can literally draft another quarterback. When you have Herbert, when you have Tannehill, with that type of team investment, I think you're probably done and you're stopping at 2 quarterbacks in your draft. Unless he times out and they gives him Fitzmagic. No, he goes Hunter Renfrow. Okay, so yeah, we're going to get Ryan Fitzmagic. Okay, what is this? Okay, yeah, we're perfectly fine with that. Okay, so yeah, we get Ryan Fitzmagic coming in. So this team so far, if we go through, if we show this off, so we were able to build in some stacks with value. We got Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the first and the fourth round. At running back, we have Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams, James Conner, Michael Carter, Leonard Fournette, David Johnson. At receiver, we have Terry McLaurin, Odell Beckham Jr., Cortland Sutton, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown, Tyrell Williams, Paris Campbell, and then whoever we get in the last round here. And this is what I talk about time and time again. I think that, honestly, there aren't that many things I'd go back and change about this draft. Which is, maybe what it is maybe it's just too hard to take the elite quarterback in the top 4 rounds when you get the tight end in round 1. I think that may be what it is. Because, yes, we're getting the stack in with Mahomes and Kelce, and it makes a lot of sense on paper. But in reality, how we are punting both running back and receiver, I think it's really hard to pull off. I think it's something that we need to think more about. Maybe the only teams that we want to be taking a Patrick Mahomes on are the teams where we get a Tyreek Hill in the first instead, because then we at least can catch up at receiver. But, I mean, round 4, when we're passing on a Brandon Ayuk, when we're passing on a T. Higgins, yes, Mahomes is great on paper, but it's just so hard to turn that team into something you want. And Fallon says, Mason, what do you think of the 108? Let's go through. Let's check out Fallon picked right behind us out here in every single one of these live streams. My man, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us, of course. So after this, we have Stephon Diggs, Chris Godwin, Laviska, Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle, Elijah Moore, Jalen Reagor, Nico Collins at receiver. So I really like the receiver room. Then on running back, we have Joe Mixon, Chris Carson, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Gio. So you have some running backs with elite ceilings in a Tony Pollard. And you also have guys that could pop up and give you random weeks given the usage in their offenses with Devin Singletary and Giovanni Bernard. You have Josh Allen to stack with Stephon Diggs. At tight end, you have, okay, so you're weak at tight end. That's kind of the one spot you chose to be weak on. I'm assuming that you're going to have to get a third tight end here. Quarterback is intriguing going in the 13th round with the Tua. I'm assuming, did you get Jalen Waddle? Yeah, you got Jalen Waddle. I think I still prefer, honestly, kind of waiting on quarterback there. Like instead of getting a Tua, even though you have that stack, I mean, getting a Zach Wilson in the 17th instead. And then you can get a receiver in this range. I mean, you can get a Rashad Bateman, get a Jameson Crowder instead of a Nico Collins. That's probably the small thing that I would change. I mean, when you have a Josh Allen, you're already so locked and loaded at quarterback. Okay, so now in the 18th round, we're going receiver. And really, the only position we're looking at is going to be a receiver. Juwan Johnson. Did not know he was getting drafted now. But anyway, we're going to go with someone that we have, I swear to God, been drafting over and over and over again. We're going to go with a Kadarius Toney. Okay. Actually, I lied to you. We're going to go with Josh Reynolds. I mean, maybe we need to be a little more concerned about Kadarius Toney than we've actually have been. So yeah, let's get Josh Reynolds coming in at receiver. This has been the entire draft board. And my dudes, we are going to end this live stream sometime soon. I'm very sorry we're not going to do another draft after this, but we do drafts every single night. So just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out to our next draft. And I'm going to send out a free link to our free fantasy football group chat in the live chat right now. Now, you do not need a credit card. You do not need an email. You don't need anything. I'm not trying to get you to sign up for some email list. This is just a group chat with 5,000 people in it. All you have to do is click the link, choose a nickname for you to go through and be a part of the group chat, whatever you want people to call you. And yeah, that's going to be it. I don't really care if you join or not. Just if you want to be in a group chat, trying to do something nice here and trying to let people maybe find some leagues to play in, maybe just find some buddies that like fantasy football. There are like 5,000 people in here, so I will send that out. And also use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Deposit $10, get $25 added to your account. Get our 2021 fantasy football rankings. Get our 2021 fantasy football draft guide. Help the channel tremendously. And let's send this out right now. And yeah, thank you, my dudes. We'll be live tomorrow night. Hopefully we can get another $250 draft going. And that's it. I will see y'all in the draft tomorrow.